means I can't describe the way I vibe, the way I slide, and with the rhymes that make the dimes all close their eyes and fantasize. I'm divine calling their phone number. No, you know I love you. And you know me.
Oh! Maybe you like Caden and Hank, who get a real thrill from the speed of their HDDs.
G'day there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 2 of Six Masters 2020. I'm Gaz, and joining me for all of tonight's action is Raven. First, mate, how are you?
I'm good, man. Good to be back on and keen to cast some solid games.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys stay up to date with all the action here in Six Masters 2020 by following at Rainbow6ANZ on all of your favorite social medias. And if you jump on Twitter, you can participate in the poll and have your say on who you think will win tonight. But Raven, let's recap quickly. Last night, we had wildcard defeat an ill-prepared Team Sinister 2-0, and then we saw a massive match between Elevate and LFO, where they took a map each.
Yeah, there was some really good games last night. Wildcard, well, they did take a 2-0. There was some contest from Sinister there. Close maps, particularly Theme Park, ended up being 7-5. And of course, LFO actually taking a map off of Elevate, and not just taking the map, taking it 7-2. Was really the biggest surprise of last night, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen that coming.
Yeah, and I think the most surprising part about that is it proves that these lower seeded teams, for example, LFO being the lowest seeded team, the only team that qualified through the open qualifiers, managing to take it up to the number 1 seeded team shows that the competition really is quite fierce. And that was only the first day of this entire competition, so it's only going to continue to ramp up.
Yeah, and the other thing with that is, in theory, based on the seeding, that should be LFO's hardest game. So if they can do that against Elevate, or they can play that well, then it's going to be a really good storyline to follow throughout this whole season.
Well, tonight, of course, is day number 2. Let's bring up the schedule, and you guys can see who will be taking on each other this evening. First up, it will be TBD and Kanga Esports, and then later, Raven, we will have the Pittsburgh Knights taking on Ferox. Both of these shaping up to be pretty interesting matchups in their own right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of teams that have actually had changes happen, and Kanga also had a change pretty late in the Pro League season. They never really had a chance to grind into some kind of form with that roster, which meant that the second half of their season was quite lackluster. So this is their chance to prove that that's working out well for them. And both Pittsburgh and Ferox have made quite significant roster changes, so that matchup is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of question marks when you look at both of these matchups. So difficult, I feel, to predict with all of these sort of switches that have happened, some of them being incredibly last minute. Of course, we're going to touch on this later, but the Pittsburgh Knights, they've just recently literally had Stigs leave their roster, and I'm really excited to see how that's going to impact proceedings later tonight.
Absolutely. It's a bit of a hole to leave. I mean, Stigs was a solid player on that team, very consistent, and was a big part of how they performed. So without him, we don't know what kind of impact that might have. Maybe it's not as bad as we think, but tonight's going to be the test.
Well, of course, we do have TBD and Kanga first up. I guess leading into this matchup, what can we start to expect? Because we know TBD had some pretty good form in Season 11 of Pro League. And then, as you mentioned earlier, Kanga had quite a few roster changes, and they really started to struggle in that back end.
Yeah, and that was really unfortunate for Kanga because they actually started Pro League Season 11 pretty well. They had some solid matches with the draw against Fnatic, some good performances against Wildcard. Not being able to back that up would have been really disappointing for them. And like you said, TBD had a strong season all year round. They just weren't really able to secure points against Elevate, which meant that they ended up finishing below them.
Well, let's bring up that TBD lineup, and you guys at home can see exactly who will be forming that team this evening. Definitely some familiar names in there for the ANZ viewers, Raven, but maybe for people that are watching this region for the first time, walk us through this team and maybe a little bit of their history and what we can expect from them this evening.
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent in a top 4 finish in ANZ Pro League for a long time now, and Jack Daddy and Cutie were really the consistent front runners of that squad. Ippistyle joined quite a while ago now, it feels like, maybe over a year, with Joker and Mangoes being the recent additions. But there's a lot about this team that has been consistent, and the fact that they were so dominant in Season 11 was great to see them reforming some of that strength, and it's going to be great to see whether that happens further in Six Masters.
Well, TBD do have their work cut out this evening. They are taking on Kanga Esports. Let's bring up the roster and see exactly who's lining up for them this evening. Some names in here that might not be as familiar as the TBD roster, Raven, but this roster does have some experience to try and level things out.
Yeah, now that they've gone through a full Pro League season, that's going to help, bring some consistency to their performances. It's not this fresh new pressure. It's just becoming business as usual for them. And they have had a chance now to work in with this lineup. And one player notably, Leb, it was his debut season in Season 11. And I really felt like he was one of the more improved players throughout of Season 11. By the end, he seemed like he was playing much more comfortable, much more impactful. So I'm really excited to see whether he can continue that. I've probably just jinxed him. Sorry, Leb. But either way, keep your eye on him. He can show up. And Spruce can be a bit of an X factor, but we don't want to give him too much credit.
Well, Spruce might be an X factor in the interviews, but when he's playing, that's a whole nother story. But let's focus in maybe on what Kanga need to do to improve here. As you mentioned, they struggled a little bit with those roster changes, but they now have had that opportunity, I feel, to really practice some strategies, cohere as a team. How's that going to translate to tonight? Do you think they've had sort of enough time to really work things out?
I think it's a significant amount of time. It really feels like a long time ago that Pro League finished. And provided they just kept with it, their practice and their scrims, I think that's a significant amount of time, especially compared to what they had when they were resuming Pro League before. I think that's probably not going to be an excuse they can lean on heavily anymore.
Awesome. Well, the map veto plays a massive role in how any matchup plays out. Keep in mind that in the Six Masters, it's a best of 2 series. So we'll bring up the first 2 bans, one for each team. Of course, each team only getting the 1 ban. So Coastline and Theme Park, they'll be taken out first, Raven.
Yeah, I mean, Theme Park, unfortunately banned, but not a massive surprise, as I guess there's a lot of teams that would not have worked strats on it. And Kanga, while they've had some time to grind in with their roster, I would imagine there's a few maps that they haven't had a chance to fully develop. Theme Park would be an obvious one that they haven't really touched, I'd say. So they're going to ban that out. And Coastline, coming out of TBD, Kanga have had some reasonably good performances on Coastline in the past, so I guess TBD just don't want to play that, not something they want to deal with.
Well, with the bans done, that leaves 1 pick for each team. Let's bring up those maps and see where we'll be heading for this best of 2 series. First up, it'll be Kafe Dostoyevsky, and then we will have Consulate being Kanga's pick. Firstly, Kafe, TBD, what can we expect?
Good question. Kafe is an interesting map. I mean, it's seeming to be a pretty favored map these days amongst a lot of Pro League teams. Kanga played it quite a bit. TBD have played it a bit as well. TBD, I'd say just in general, their playstyle suits Kafe a lot more than Kanga. But there's, of course, always these little X factors that you have to worry about. I'm more surprised about Kanga picking Consulate, as that's really seemed to be a strong map for TBD in a lot of Season 11 of Pro League.
I mean, maybe that's an indication that Kanga really have been working hard, and maybe they've found a weakness in TBD setup. It's going to be interesting, I think, to see. I mean, let's focus in on that first matchup on Kafe. I mean, the results I have here, TBD, the last time they played it was against Elevate, and they lost 4-7. On the other side, Kanga, they played against Pittsburgh Knights and lost that 2-7. So you could argue that maybe neither of these teams, at least in their most recent competitive form, haven't looked the greatest. So expect, I think, a switch up as it plays out this evening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting map for us. And with the break as well, I mean, we focused on Kanga being able to finally work with their roster. But with TBD, a team that finished so strongly, they would have been working on some new strats, developing new maps, and widening their map pool. So this might be some evidence of that, and if they come out with a really strong victory, then that's potentially the case.
Well, before we look at the votes from home, Raven, give us your tip. Who do you think's going to come out on top of this series, or could we even see a draw maybe?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident towards TBD. They just look too good in Season 11, and Kanga, of course, have had some extra time, but I just don't think that's going to be enough to give them the performance jump needed to be able to compete with TBD at this stage.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to back you on that one. And I think it's important to keep in mind, actually, that TBD, that is not their name. That's not an org. They are orgless. So imagine if and when they do get that org support, how much stronger they could even be. And that's going to make it really challenging for some of these lower seeded teams that might find them quite challenging of an opponent.
Yeah, it's definitely a daunting thing considering how they've been playing already. And as you said, can give them that bit of a boost. And it feels like a while that they have been TBD. And given their Season 11 performance, and potentially now with 6 Masters, I feel like it wouldn't be too far away that they might find a home.
Well, Raven and myself are pretty confident in TBD's ability to take this series. Let's have a look at the poll vote and see what you guys at home think. It's actually going to be Kanga just edging out TBD. But of course, that's probably a little bit because of the fact that TBD just isn't really a known name, I guess you could say, and Kanga Esports has the backing behind them.
Yeah, and of course this is for the series, so the draw percentage there is if both teams would win 1 map each. But I'm quite surprised about the community poll. You make a good point about the fact that Kanga is an organization, so a bit more of a recognizable brand there. And I think that's definitely not representative of TBD's performances and how they really played throughout of Season 11.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a little bit difficult for TBD not having as much sort of community support potentially behind them. I feel like for some teams, they sort of thrive on that a little bit. They enjoy sort of interacting with their own community and having that support behind them. So maybe for them, that's a little bit challenging. But if you look at the results from the last season of Pro League, it didn't look like it really phased them all that much. They were still quite strong.
Yeah, and I mean, with community polls, I don't think teams would really read into it too much before the games. Maybe it's something they look at after. And even if they do look at it before the game, I don't think it really adds a whole lot of pressure. And even if it did, TBD having the non-favored side of the community poll, I think that just really helps them set up more comfort for their matches.
Well, it's day 2 of 6 Masters 2020. It's the first map between TBD and Kanga. Let's jump straight into it. It's Kafe Dostoyevsky. Let's get into the ban phase. I hope I said Kafe correctly there. I know someone in chat is going to say that I got it wrong, but at least I tried. A for effort. That's what I say.
Yeah, at least you put in some effort, man. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, this ban phase is going to be interesting to see whether Ying gets banned out. We saw it a little bit last night, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it starts to carry over between other teams and other matchups at this stage. But this is the other consistent ban. It's Thatcher. He cannot catch a break. I feel like it is almost every map so far in ANZ that Thatcher is banned out.
Definitely going to make things more challenging for these attackers that, of course, being Kanga for the first 6 rounds. Keep in mind as well that there is overtime in 6 Masters. We will not see any 6-6 draws, of which you may be familiar with from the old Pro League format, as Maverick will be that second ban. Definitely intrigued to see how strong Kanga's attacks are going to be here. It's definitely not an easy task on Kafe, and with those 2 bans, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, I feel.
Absolutely, definitely going to be more challenging, and the Clash ban is an interesting one actually from Kanga. We've seen TBD play it a little bit on other maps, not so much Kafe, but either way, it's not something they're going to be able to drop back to. I believe it was Mangoes that had been playing that Clash, and that means that TBD can't utilize that. They can't fall back on any strategy with the Clash. So I think that's a bit of an interesting ban, and see whether it actually has an effect on TBD's defenses.
Yeah, it's definitely not a common occurrence to see a Clash ban, but quite smart, I guess you could say. As you mentioned, TBD often utilizing that in their strategies, so good on them for taking that step. Bar and Cocktail will be the first objective. And as you can see from the side of the defenders, there's going to be quite a bit of utility for Kanga to deal with.
Just a little bit, yeah. They're going to have Goyo shields, Womai magnets, ADSs, electric claws, and man, yeah, it's going to be it's going to be tough for them because, of course, they don't have the Thatcher with the EMPs to clear a lot of that because ADS is electric caused magnets, all affected by those EMPs. And again, that really highlights the strength of a Thatcher ban.
Expecting TBD here to probably keep their strategies relatively default as they get a feel for this matchup. As much as they probably don't want to admit it, they're probably not expecting the stiffest of competition, but it's important not to be complacent. You could argue that maybe last night Elevate, going into that matchup against LFO, weren't quite playing themselves, and unfortunately they did end up dropping a map. So I'm sure TBD were watching that, or at least aware of the results, and be keeping that in the backs of their minds that they can't be slacking off at all against some of these lower seeded teams because of how close that competition really is.
Yeah, we just constantly get reminded how important it is to secure every point when they're there to get. And if you are a strong team, you might think those are the less pressure matches, but I think there's a little bit of pressure there because you are wanting to be getting those points. They are considered by a lot of people not free points, but points that you should be getting. So I think that does play into that.
Interesting approach here from Kanga early round, establishing themselves on the east side of the map. Often we will see teams pushing piano quite hard in the red stairs side of the map. Kanga instead opting to maybe pressure cocktail on white stairs. See Joker here prepared and ready and waiting. Interestingly enough, running the Goyo with the Vector as opposed to the TCSG, which did recently experience a damage reduction, so a change of game style potentially there for Joker heading in to this tournament.
Yeah, and last night we still saw a lot of TCSG played, so I guess that's an individual player thing here as opposed to potentially the strategy. What's going to be interesting is just how Kanga handles these attacks. We really saw attack being the expose of halves last night in the series playouts. And whether it's the same for Kanga here is going to be big because Kafe has notoriously not really been favorable for attackers. In fact, a lot of sides quite tricky to attack.
Minute 30 left in the round now as Kanga continue to gather some intel. They don't really have any map control at the moment, instead opting to play from below, maybe find a pick or two and try and displace these defenders. Definitely an unorthodox approach so far. Campo narrowly missing the head of the play inside of Freezer as Mangoes does get that opening pick, putting Kanga now on that back foot.
Yeah, they had made some good progress, but they're a little bit stalled out now. Mango is just going off with the Org there on the Wamai and Cocktail. There's a lot of pressure here on the Eastern Kanga, which is nice to see because, I mean, that's one area that a lot of teams struggle. They will drop west onto the red stairs, play around Cigar and the New Hatch, but then they struggle to flush out those cocktail positions, whereas Kanga's really reversed their order of operations here.
40 seconds left, and so far it hasn't quite worked out. They need to try and find a couple of picks to give themselves any sort of fighting chance in this round. The rotate over towards red will now come out. The hatch already been opened. Wayman leads the charge and drops, but Mangoes gets his triple for the round. Could well see him get an ace here in the first round, but Ippy Star will drop boats, leaving Wayman now at the top of red with not much to do, and TBD will take round number one flawlessly. That unorthodox approach from Kanga not quite paying off.
No, it didn't really work out at all. Mangoes was the thorn in their side. They weren't able to really get anything done in the end, so TBD, solid round, of course, not losing anybody. Starting it off nicely. We're going to be moving down to the kitchen bomb sites now. Pretty common second pick for Kafe.
Definitely intrigued to see if this unorthodox approach from Kanga will be consistent throughout this map. Keep in mind it isn't their map pick, so they may well be going into this not really expecting to win. Maybe just trialing some stuff and feeling out the map as they go. Or feeling out the map as they go.
Yeah,
kitchen. Yeah, I think I said feeling, not feeling. No, I said feeling, not feeling. Anyway, let's move on from that. It's only the second round. My brain is still warming up here. As I said, I'm very interested to see, I think, how Kanga's going to approach this side because, like the top floor, it tends to have a pretty consistent attack pattern.
That it does, and it looks like TBD are going to invest a little bit into the bakery stand there. They've reinforced the wall towards the bus station window, which makes you feel like someone's going to be playing around bakery stand. Likely to be Ippy style. It's the kind of position that I think he thrives on and likes to play around. Surprised about that. So whether Kanga decide to hard push in the bakery or actually do a top-down clear and take wide stairs and maybe orchestrate something with Freezer and Hatch. Wait and see what they can read into and what they can put together.
Kanga now beginning to approach the map. All of their players, of course, on 0 frags that first round. Flawless from TBD, and it was really the Mangoes that just completely teared any sort of attempt to pressure Cocktail. Looks like Kanga will attempt to sweep from above. Not too unorthodox in that sense. TBD, one of those teams that often will have a roamer or two. One of those to keep an eye on is, of course, Itby Style, playing Jaeger on this occasion. But he won't be on the top floor just yet.
No, not really extending their roam is TBD. So if Kanga do want to take this vertical control, which looks like they might do, they are going to drone it out. And they're going to be able to take it pretty quickly, efficiently, if they are good about it. And that's what they are doing exactly. Pushing all the way through this white corridor so they can take white stairs, which is good. It's going to be a lot of map control obtained nice and early. It's going to give them time to work on Hatch, freeze a wall, all those kinds of things to give them a really solid chance to execute.
That's some pretty good parkour droning from Campo to jump over the little jammer there. Trying to gain some intel for Leb, who's entering from below. Kanga establishing some nice control around the map, but not really pressuring TBD, as you mentioned. Most of them just defaulting in and around site. Holding VIP as well, and maybe small bakery as well. Definitely going to get the Kanga to try to flush them out as efficiently as possible. Not too long in the round now. It's definitely counting down quite quickly.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
They are starting to run out a bit of time here, not really pressuring TBD at all. Lots of rotates made back to site for these roamers, but that also means that if they forfeit this control too early, they're giving Kanga free access. It's all going to come down to a timing thing here, but they have the intel there. Those Valkyrie cams have not been spotted at all by the IQ, and there is finally some entry into the bakery. But TBD look like they're ready for that, and they look like they're ready to a flank as well.
45 seconds left on the board, and Itby Style will activate his flank, gets one on to Leb, makes his way back down Brown as Kuti gets two, and once again, Kanga at a massive man disadvantage. It's Spruce alongside Campo to try and bring this round back. Only 30 seconds left on the board. Campo very wary of those holes. There is actually a player to his right as he gets sprayed down, eventually is killed. That's Kuti with a triple, and now Spruce the Moose needs to find 5. I don't think he has what it takes. He doesn't. TBD with a second flawless round, Raven, and not the greatest start for Kanga.
It's really not looking good at all. I mean, it's hard to attack Kafe in some circumstances, but right now Kanga are just struggling. 2 rounds, 2 flawless rounds. And in that one in particular, TBD didn't even lose a tick of HP. Not one bullet of Kanga landing on their opponents. So they are literally untouchable at the moment.
I guess that raises the question, when are Kanga going to unleash the Ying? Obviously she hasn't been banned. Was banned quite a bit last night in day number 1. So expecting it to maybe see some play here, but it looks like Kanga opting not to go for that play just yet. And I guess maybe that's understandable. If they've got both Wamai and Jaeger on the board, Ying's effectiveness might not quite be as good if you're relying on her gadget to not do utility clearing.
That's a great point. And also we just got told that the map picks were actually the wrong way around. So this is Kanga's map pick, which is
okay. Well, yeah,
alarming because they really look not prepared at all for these attacks. And like I said, sure, Kafe can be a little bit tricky to deal with, but 2 flawless rounds is a completely other story.
Oh, how the turntables have turned. Kanga. Not an ideal start for them, and I mean, it's not even the fact, as you mentioned earlier, that they're 2-0 down on a Kafe attack. In some circumstances, that would be understandable, but 2 flawless rounds in a row, that's definitely raising some pretty major red flags. Especially when the last round, they didn't do a single hit of damage, as you mentioned. That's, yeah. Kanga definitely need to switch something up here, or this could turn into a landslide pretty quickly. And then heading into the second map, which isn't their pick, that's going to be tough, especially from a mental standpoint, I think.
Absolutely, definitely going to be tough. So time to get things into gear here for Kanga. Spruce
Attackers have located a bomb.
trying to find something here. They're going to drone out from the mining side, maybe looking to take in towards train and go for a dining push. Still early days, but Cocktail is such a critical position to clear out when you're attacking this floor, and I think that is where Kanga are going to get stalled out a lot.
A lot of utility has been placed here by TBD to aid in their efforts of stalling out as much time as possible. Kanga taking a pretty traditional approach here, dropping red. We'll try and clear that. Come across the bar. No pressure really here on TBD to get overly aggressive, as EP Star will get the opening pick, and that's Campo taken out. IQ will no longer be able to use her scanner. That's going to be challenging when you have so much utility here to clear.
Yeah, not a great operator to lose early. So much utility, as you said, is already placed in Cocktail. Not going to be as easy to spot out, and this has already created a bit of a stall here. Half the round gone. They do have some piano control, but that is not super critical. Bomb side is in dining and reading, and can't really use that vertical control in piano to much effect.
Feels like these rounds are almost going by at like 1.5 times speed. They're just so quick, only a minute to go now, and Kanga just not really doing a whole lot. It's Jack Daddy will get one more, or his team. Just like that, it's a 5v3 raid.
It is, and look, it's still all going in the side of TBD. Haven't seen any casualties in that end. All up to Leb to stop it being another flawless, and it's not going to be, guys. 3 flawless rounds in a row for TBD. Kanga, where are you?
Yikes. I guess the question is, how many flawless rounds can TBD get in a row? I wonder what the record is. How many flawless rounds a team's gotten in a row in Tier 1 competition? That would be a very interesting stat. Don't know where you would find it, but it would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely having a go at the record tonight is Kanga, that's for sure. And you asked for it, Guz. Looks like we're going to see it. It's the Ying pick. It's Spruce going onto it. He's been playing a bit of Ash, but obviously that's not going anywhere. Decided to change things up here with the Ying and try and get something done with her flashes.
Who else would it be but Spruce to jump on one toxic operator to another? Classic Spruce. I mean, maybe... oh, this is going to sound so harsh, but maybe the only way Kanga can get kills is if their enemies literally cannot see. Oh,
Could be.
that was harsh. That was harsh.
Yeah, but they need to do something because 3 rounds, no frags. They did manage to get some HP damage onto their opponents in that last round, but either way, it's not working out at all. Some dronic changes are going to have to happen from Kanga here. They're taking a lot of time, they're stalling out, and they're not really in great tradable positions. Often when they're dying, there's no one pushing for that refrag or nobody in like a great pinch position, for example. TBD are just waiting for them with great crossfires. They've set up these traps with positions, and Kanga are playing perfectly into it.
Well, keep in mind, Kanga, in the back end of Season 11 of Pro League, did experience some pretty major roster changes. One of those, of course, being Pat, previously known as Thumbnail, who went to Wildcard, leaving quite a bit of a dent in Kanga's ability to frag out. His aggression was definitely really important for his team, or for the Kanga lineup rather. Alongside his IGLing skills, we saw a massive, I think, contrast in their ability to attack when Pat left. It's really been up to them to try and navigate that and try and fulfill that role that is now missing.
Yeah, that's a great point about the roster changes and who they lost. Of course, the other one was Worthy, and he was the other player that they had that really did bring also some aggression. Big highlight plays in the early season on Jaeger, for example. So that's not a role they've been able to fill. Campo getting tagged up through that cigar closet. And Kanga, half the round played. Haven't really obtained a whole lot of map control. Most critically, Piano is not quite theirs just yet. Oh, I say that, but actually I saw it. I saw an outline there. It is.
A couple of the Kanga players already lit up early here, namely Leb and Campo. The discipline from TBD is been quite admirable so far. A lot of the times we're really just seeing them holding passive angles, not really doing anything crazy, and Kanga just falling into their lines of sight.
Right, TBD are playing really passive, and I think that is something that's throwing Kanga off a little bit. I mean, TBD can be a little aggressive. TBD are a run-out kind of team. Ippy style, we've seen time and time again, running out doorways. Consulate is a great map for Ippy style. He loves running out yellow stairs, for example, or the front lobby door. So we have seen a different play style from TBD at this stage on Cafe.
Yeah, unfortunately, just having some tech issues, so you're going to have to put up with me and Raven's beautiful faces. I mean, how do we even describe what has happened to a Kanga here? Because this is probably not what any of us expected. I mean, maybe we could have expected sort of a 3-0 scoreline in favor of TBD, but not to this magnitude, not 3 flawless rounds straight. You wouldn't expect that really from any team.
Yeah, I think that's the important facts there, is the fact that it's a 3-0, but here we go, actually, we're back in the action. It's a 2 versus 1. Kanga have managed to find some picks, so not another flawless round, guys, but Fuse is down. 2v1, that's actually it. Cutie ends it, so it's another round.
Cutie!
TBD.
Well done, Cutie.
But look, I guess importantly, the progress there is that Kanga did manage to get some picks. Players on TBD did die. It's still looking grim for Kanga at this stage.
Definitely not an ideal start here. That's 4 rounds straight for TBD. Of course, keep in mind they are defending and it is Cafe, but the dominance in these rounds has really been on another level. We will see them now head down back to Kitchen. They played that in their second defensive round, and of course they won it. Keen to jump into this one and see if Kanga can bring this back. They will bring that Ying once again. Spruce opting for her.
Didn't get a chance to see whether that was actually the factor in them getting those picks, and hopefully we do get to see it in this round. Kitchen. Now, when TBD played this last time, they played very patiently, as we were talking about this before. They all just stayed down on the bottom floor. They held really great positions in the VIP, coat check, bakery, just ensuring that there was no easy push to site for Kanga, and by the time Kanga got the vertical control, they never really did anything with it. So whether TBD can replicate that again, I think that seems to be playing into their strengths and Kanga's weaknesses.
I guess it also raises the question of, is TBD really bringing out any extravagant strategies or operator picks or plays here? And so far, it doesn't really feel like it. Outside of, I guess, when they've been bringing that Wamaya Jaeger combo, it hasn't felt too different to what we've seen them previously attempt in Season 11 of Pro League, for example, and what a lot of other teams, not only within ANZ, but will globally attempt in terms of default setups. So it's a little bit concerning that Kanga are struggling in clearing those on their own map pick.
Absolutely right, guys. It is their map pick, and I think no matter what, you would expect something a little more from their attacks. Let's see if they can bring it back. They could hope for a 4-2 at best, and honestly, if they got it to 4-2, that wouldn't be overly bad. You know, that's not totally out of the realm of normality on Cafe. So there's still a fighting chance for Kanga here. They just have to get something happening with these attacks.
I mean, we have seen Spruce, for example, it was a while ago now, but when he was on that Fury roster, they actually managed to... They defeated Fnatic, correct? In Season 10?
Yeah.
They brought back some massive loss in the first half and proved that it's definitely possible on this map. But in saying that, the way in which they've played so far hasn't really given too many glimpses of hope. It's going to be up to these next 2 rounds to try and form that momentum that they can really utilize in that second half.
Definitely so different circumstances here, and so far it seems to be a similar story. I mean, they've taken that vertical control of the top 2 floors, but it has taken them about half the round to do so. TBD just sitting patiently down this bottom floor, shooting any drone that comes at all close to them, which means they really control the power of Intel. And Jack Daddy, again, Leb is taken off the board, and he's just gonna teabag for the style on site. And again, Kanga just look like they're struggling here.
Oh, not a bad kill there from Spruce, though, on Brown Stairs. Will even out the main count. He still has 4 of those Candelas left to use as well. Boats gets 1 back as well. So it's a 4-on-3, and we will finally see Kanga now with that man advantage heading into the later stages of round number 5.
Bit better here, so they just have to keep following through and get some kind of solid execute happening. We've got Jack Dad playing just around that bomb chassis. Right on the other side of this wall, Campo very close to seeing the head of the Kaid, and actually he will find it if Isao gets another offside, so does Boats. Which means it is actually a 1v3, Guz. This could be Kanga's breakthrough round.
30 seconds left on the board. Cutie currently 8-0. That's an average of 2 kills around, so he's definitely been popping off. How many can he find here? That's 1. Can he find the second? No, as he tries to wall bang the wall. Boats will win that engagement, and Kanga will finally win a round.
They have, and you know what, it's like we were saying, if they do manage to get this back to 4-2, that's somewhat respectable. I really think that does give them a light at the end of the tunnel when they switch to defense, if they can make it to the end of the tunnel. But that's one good step forward, and it means that TBD are actually not going to repeat that bomb site. They're going to go straight up to reading Fireplace, which of course last time was a flawless round. So can Kanga make some adaptations and continue to get these rounds?
I think it'd be fair to say that the last time TBD defended this site, Kanga had major issues in getting anywhere near the cocktail hold that was being executed by TBD from above.
Attackers need to locate and
Many of those members
many
being
bombs
picked
as
off
they
before they
can.
could get any meaningful utility in towards that side of the map to clear that hold. And Kanga on this occasion will really need to be mindful of those early picks, try and maybe get 1 or 2 back, because in the last round when they managed to do that, TBD did crumble just a little bit.
TBD have really stuck quite solid lineups for their defense as well. It's playing into that utility clear. They've got the 2 Goya shields, bringing the additional shield on Wamai with the magnets and ADSs. On top of that, they've got the mute, so it's not been easy for Kanga to be gathering this intel. They're just falling into mute jammers constantly, and having to either follow up that drone to clear the mute jammer, or just lose the drone in the first place.
Of course, this is the last round in the half. 6 rounds in each half in the competitive rule set. So Kanga have 1 more opportunity to get around on their attack. Unless, of course, we head into overtime if the scores are 6-6 at the end of regulation. There are no draws. It's a long way away, though, especially
Bomb located by
Kanga can't secure this round. It looks like they will once again attempt to clear from red stairs. We saw them try this last time they attacked this bomb site without any success. So hopefully, able to switch things up a little bit here.
Yeah, some good progress so far. Oh, that was a nice shot from Spruce onto Ippy style. Actually looked like he was caught completely off guard, but managed to flick and hit it. Lucky to come out on top of that one. It does mean that we'll have a man advantage now as they progress forward. It's going to help them be able to get stuff done.
Nice opening there for Spruce. Give his team a little bit of momentum in this round. Ippy style is such a dangerous fragger and often playing in interesting positions that can secure kills. Of course, in that last occasion, it didn't. Caught off guard by that entry, and it's going to be up to the rest of the TBD lineup to hold off this attack. Still a strong hold over towards Cocktail. Jack Daddy from below gets taken down, though, so it's going to be a 5-on-3 early in this round.
And much more aggressive and confident pushing here from Kanga. Finally getting these picks. Maybe ill-advised from Jack Dad to be peeking through those bars. A couple of members taken low by Kanga, but they have some pretty good map control. Cutie still stepping up for TBD. And all the TCSG, just a bit of a whiff there from Mangoes. It is all up to Mangoes here, guys, and he's going to drop back to site.
Secured himself 5 kills so far in this matchup. Looking for 4 more in order to win this round. Low on HP and needs to be mindful of that, but Kanga equally quite low. 3 of their members will drop to a single shot from the TCSG. 40 seconds left now to hold out. And he will be taken down. Kanga taking half. 4-2 against them. Probably not the worst result considering those first 3 rounds were flawless in favor of their opponents.
Yeah, it did take them a while to wake up, but they might have salvaged something there. I think securing 2 rounds, considering how they started, that's a bit of a win for Kanga. So now TBD, they're the ones that are going to be on attack, and if they similarly struggle, Kanga will have a chance to bring this back. It could end up being a close finish. It's going to be, hopefully, a close map in the end, guys.
Yeah, I think so far it's definitely shaped up to be a little bit closer than I expected, particularly after the first 3 rounds. I thought we might have been staring down the barrel of a 7-0 even. But Kanga proving that they can bring those scorelines back at least somewhat. Now they have that opportunity on defense, the favored side here on Kafe, to try bring that scoreline a little bit closer. Try and win out the map, or even take it to overtime if needed. Of course, again, no draws, so could well be on the cards. A long first map, though, could make things interesting, I feel, even for map number 2. If this one goes the distance all the way, these players will start to tire out, and maybe that will favor TBD, as the second map will be their pick.
10 seconds left.
Stamina, of course, will be an effect, and you're right, TBD being map number 2 is only going to be playing further and further into their strengths, you would assume. And speaking of TBD's strengths, Mango's 6-picked off Thermite to Ying, so they no longer have any hard breach in this lineup. And I think that really shows the way that TBD want to be playing these attacks. I think they're going to play it pretty aggressive and somewhat swift, and maybe just try and body Kanga a little bit.
TBD definitely one of the more aggressive teams in ANZ, and it looks like there's going to be some aggression inside of Bakery. They have been spotted out by Wayne Man, but do they have the manpower to hold up this push? Mango's surely will just spam in some Candelas, and the rest of his team will follow. Drone is set up, and they do see a player to the left. Cutie getting that opening pick as well. And this could be a big round for TBD once they go for this execute.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Cutie just popping off for his team. He's actually at 11-2 at the moment. We're only 6 rounds deep here. But again, that aggression from TBD just gave them very solid entry into Bakery. They've slowed it down a little bit now, starting not to continue to push deep. So that's really great discipline from them. And Kanga now have a hole in terms of intel. Bruce off the board means no pulse. They're going to have to rely on these Yokais and Mozzie if he's caught any of these drones. Other than that, it's just default cameras, but you would assume that they've probably been shot out at this stage.
TBD very mindful of any sort of vertical presence from Kanga, but that won't really be the case. Taking their time here to really locate where these defenders are sitting. I think their main objective will be really to utilize those Candelas as much as possible. And here we go, Mango's inside of Prep will spam out too. Will he be able to find any picks? That TD95 is so strong now. He gets the first despite being hit by the Yokai drone. That makes it a 5-on-3. Campo dropped as well. And that's Wayman and Leb against this whole TBD lineup. Things not looking great for Kanga here on their first defense. Leb, though, he gets one with the Mozzie, but who needs to find more. Mango's now attempting to plan, and it's all up to Wayman. He's all the way back in Freezer. His position is revealed as he gets the first. Diffuser has been stuck though, and TBD should surely be able to hold these crossfires. Disciplined play from them for the majority of this round, and it's looking no different at the moment. Wayman does see the feet of the player that planted the bomb. Can't quite find the pick. His shots will rain out. Wayman under heavy suppression at the moment. Not a whole lot he can really do. Time against him, and the Nomad to his right in Joker will shut him down, and that was definitely a contrast to some of Kanga's earlier attacks.
It really was. TBD just showed their confidence, and that early pick and map control they just gained by just owning it was incredible pressure onto Kanga. And the use of the Ying worked out really well. I mean, they didn't have to open Bakery wall at all. Flash push through, get the frag of the person playing near that prep bench, and that was the position they needed. Beautifully covered from Joker to get the plant down, and yeah, it was all over by that stage. So if that's the way TBD are going to play, Kanga are going to have to be getting ready for some aggression and some early gunfights here, because I think they're going to be sticking a pretty similar play style. Keeping the Thermite this time though, guys, so electing to open some walls.
Attackers need
No
to locate
Ying
and defuse
on this
bombs.
occasion, despite her having pretty significant impact, I feel, on that last round. Mangoes was pretty free to run inside in that LMG primary, completely shutting down the first player he encountered, really opening up the site nicely for the rest of his team. Of course, this bomb site playing out a little bit differently, and TBD ready to adapt to those changes as required.
Ready to defend.
They're gonna be up against a similar utility clear here though. A lot of utility brought from Kanga, so that means that
5 seconds to insertion.
the utility spent from TBD is gonna have to be carefully chosen.
Attackers
They are gonna play this a little more methodically. They don't have a whole lot of breach either. I mean, they've got the sledge and the ash. That's it though. And if they don't use the nades from the sledge sparingly, they might struggle to clear some of this utility.
Could be the case as TBD now enter in towards the map. One round away from securing match point. Of course, 7 points will win you the map. Keep in mind it's the best of 2 series, so a 1 map win will at least give your team the draw in that best of 2. Kanga looking to avoid that at all costs, trying to bring back what was a very poor start to this map. The first 3 rounds, in fact, if you are just tuning in, were flawless in favor of TBD before Kanga were able to win their final 2 attacks. So far, though, TBD looking quite strong on this attacking side.
Definitely having some good efficiency here with drones, and that is one shield that will get cleared for free, essentially. That's good from TBD, and it's not something that's going to stall them out as much as if they had to clear it with a projectile. Bruce again on this pulse, getting the intel for his team. Getting some scans, and TBD going to have to be careful as half the round started to tick away. They haven't quite got the vertical control I'm sure that they're looking for. Have to get a move on.
Mangoes with the diffuser above. Jack Daddy below. A lot of players currently scattered around the map. Looks like there may have even been a player there inside a freezer. A little bit challenging to tell, but Jack Daddy will have to be careful below. Does find Leb though, so that's him off the board, and that is the player that was roaming. Taken out, really opening things up here for TBD.
Yeah, and Kanga have also forfeited that cocktail control. I didn't really think that they were getting that much pressure before they rotated away, so potentially that's premature. TBD can get to work. Cutie there on the sledge can open up the floor, and a lot of vertical pressure onto site now. It's starting to be a little bit sketchy for Kanga, especially with the man disadvantage. TBD looking to turn up the pressure and close the round.
So many angles being generated here by the soft breaches on TBD. Kanga forced back inside, trying to find refuge, find somewhere safe to sit. 20 seconds left now. Mangoes will rush in to try and get that plant down. Pre-fires through the wall. Lippy style will find one. It's a 5-on-3. Jack Daddy with a second, leaving it up to Campo and Wayne Man. The flank will likely have to come out, but it was nomaded earlier. They'll have to be mindful of that as Mangoes is now sticking the plant. It's gone down. Wayne Man does find one back. This round potentially winnable, but it's going to be such a difficult post plant. Campo has found his way up White Stairs, but unfortunately his teammate has fallen, leaving him in a 1-on-4. He does find Mangoes. 25 seconds left on that diffuser. Keep in mind, it takes 7 seconds to defuse the bomb, so he doesn't have long. Not really a whole lot he can do as he's being stalled out, and TBD will clean up that round, and Raven, they will now be on a match point.
Yeah, never really looking in doubt on these attacks either at TBD. They're doing well to take early map control, and they're punishing Kanga for it. And by the time it gets to some kind of execute stage, TBD both have time, map control, and the right angles held. So Kanga, 4 rounds in a row are going to be needed to push this into overtime, and it's not looking likely at this stage.
Definitely isn't feeling like a Kanga pick at the moment. I mean, if you compare that last defense from Kanga on that bomb site compared to what we saw from TBD, TBD on that occasion on their attack just cleared all that utility so much faster and more freely, and appeared to be more confident in putting the pressure back onto Kanga, whereas when Kanga was attacking, it felt
Defenders,
a
protect
little
your
more
bombs
linear,
from being
a
defused
little
by
bit slower,
attackers.
and TBD looked a lot more comfortable.
That they did, and Kanga are going to have to dig deep to adapt to what TBD is doing here. And I think that's going to be just difficult at best. It already looked like Kanga have been playing relatively uncomfortable. And I just think with the aggression and the style that TBD are playing these attacks, it's probably not something Kanga are going to be able to deal with, if I'm completely honest. They're going to be repeating second floor bomb site. Felt like that was better for them, apparently, and see whether they can make some adjustments to win it. But
Left before insertion.
it's going to be a long, hard road ahead for them, guys, that's for sure.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
Kanga, of course, will need to win 4 rounds straight to head this into overtime. Very tall order on any map, particularly one where you've been struggling. And that is probably not going to help. Good night, Spruce. See you later.
Yeah, maybe not a great idea to be spawn peeking. I get it though. I mean, when you're down 6-2, those are the kinds of plays that you start to really weigh up whether you should be doing it or not. Risk reward. If he managed to get 1 or 2 picks, it could have opened the round up. Would have really made things a bit more comfortable for Kanga.
Jack Daddy finding himself low here over towards Terrace, of course, the eastern side of the map near Cocktail. There are a couple of players there that they're trying to pressure.
A bomb has
Lev being one of those, and Boats close by. C4 does rain out, but doesn't really find a target. So a little bit of a waste of utility there from Lev, who has had a little bit of a quiet map. Ippy style, though. He hasn't been too quiet. That's his 8th kill here in the map, taking down Wayne Man. And now it's a 5-on-3.
Good map control again obtained by TBD in just over a minute. That they are progressing really closely to Cocktail. A couple of players still here being Leb and Boats, but they're under a lot of pressure. Ippy style, he's on the Ash, full HP, and seems to be having a bit of a fraggy game as well.
We'll rush up now on those flashes. Does he find the pick?
Ooh.
No, it's actually Boats with a nice shot to shut him down. Definitely didn't look like a favorable gunfight for the Jaeger, but he gets out on top. Trying to even out the man advantage that TBD had claimed earlier in the round. As TBD do feel a little bit stalled out with a minute to go.
Yeah, they have been stalled out a bit here, and there's a pre-placed C4 down below. Sure whose exactly that is, but could be a trap that levels things for Kanga and gives them a chance to win the round. There is still 50 seconds to go here as Lab gets one, traded back by Cutie. 3 versus 2 coming into the final stages of the round. TBD with a bit less map control than they would hope to have had as well, considering how their first 2 attack rounds had gone.
Attackers recovered
Could
the
be
diffuser.
Kanga's first defense round.
Leb over towards Pillars earlier, still in a bit of an off position. Maybe able to catch the players off guard, but I think he has now decided to rotate back towards site. Only 20 seconds left, and TBD continually creating breaches from above to try and shut down these defenders. Leb has in fact made his
15
way
seconds to go.
back in towards site. Joker with that diffuser in hand. Only 10 seconds left to attempt the plan, and Campo will shut that down. It's a 2-on-2, not long left as Leb will be dropped. They need to quickly find this kill. TBD only have 3 seconds as Campo will find refuge inside of Laundry. Can they attempt the plant? No, Kanga will win that round on time. They are keeping themselves alive here on Cafe.
Ooh, came down to the wire, but they did get there. And it was a better round from Kanga, just getting those early picks. I think the big one there was the Jaeger pick onto Ash, top floor, stopped TBD securing that Cocktail control. And that was a bit of a stall point. So Kanga, that's one of the 4 rounds they needed. They still need another 3 so that they can push this to overtime.
Third floor bar, and Cocktail will be the site of choice here for Kanga. If I've been tracking correctly, this is actually going to be the first time they've attempted this site, which is a little bit unusual, you could say. Many teams opting this as their first
Defenders,
defensive
protect
site
your
of
bombs
choice, or at least in this case
by
TBD did, when they won the first of their 3 flawless rounds straight earlier this evening. And maybe Kanga can use the advantages of this site to continually create some momentum, and it's starting to feel a little bit like Sinister last night against Wildcard. That momentum's starting to creep in, and coming up to TBD to try and shut this down as quickly as possible.
And I'm kind of surprised the TBD haven't brought the Ying again. They brought it on that first attack round, Kitchen Bakery, and it felt like it helped them. And
5 seconds to
they
go.
haven't pursued using that. Yeah, I'm surprised, but
Attackers are
either way,
moving out to locate
see
a
how
bomb
this
and defuse
goes.
it.
Looking to bring the Thermite to open some walls at least. They do get this piano control, likely to open that freezer long angle.
I mean, maybe you could make the argument that the Ying change has been quite recent. Teams maybe not feeling as quite as comfortable incorporating her in their playstyle and their strategies, but definitely feel like in her current state, many teams will benefit from her gun having increased damage and an additional Candela aiding in clearing utility or executing on towards site. Either way, though, of course, TBD, as you mentioned, not electing to bring her on this occasion. May have been a good decision in clearing what will be a load of Lamai magnets and Jaeger ADSs, but it won't be in this round.
I'm just playing very passive down there, and reading could be a bit of a surprise if TBD aren't able to spot him out. A bit of time burnt here trying to get in towards Piano. That's a bit of a misthrow from Ibisal on that drone. He's actually going to go right after it and pick it back up. It's going to take a bit of time, to be honest, but guess worth it. Really looking for this Piano control as there's 4 players over on this side for TBD.
Ibisal wary of any run out that could come from Kanga. We saw some early aggression from Spruce in the last round, which was shut down. Nothing really, though, here on round number 10. As we eclipse the halfway point of the round, TBD establishing a foothold inside of Cigar Shop. Looking to extend that now in towards Piano. Ibisal leading the charge on Ash. Been a pretty decent map for him so far, going 8 and 6. A lot of the members from TBD really showing up in the stats department so far.
Somebody unspotted actually is Lev down on the brown stairs there. He could get a nice angle over to near New Hatch at Cigar Balcony. That's exactly the angle he is holding, in fact. Could be something that helps Kanga hold on to the round and open it up for them if they push that way. But a lot of TBD are really trending towards the white hallway here, which is also being held. Campo hits a big C4, giving Kanga a man advantage, guys, as we get closer and closer to the final stages of the round. This is starting to look pretty good for Kanga.
TBD a little bit stalled out here, trying to clear a lot of this utility, and they don't have that Ying to fall back on to try and navigate that. As flashes will come out, Spruce able to avoid them, and boats as well. Those were my gadgets, really aiding in disrupting those projectiles. Mangoes, though, sneakily going for a plant here. Are Kanga aware as Mangoes is committing to the plant? Campo swings around late and will actually deny it. Frags swinging out left, right, and center, leaving it now in a 1-on-2 as Joker will drop the skylight. Needs to find one inside of Freezer and one on top of White, but he can't find the first. Kanga will hold out that last second push and take the round.
Mangoes was so close to getting that plant down, and that could have changed how that played out. The post plant would have been strong from Skylight being able to hold a deep angle to the diffuser, but the fact that that was disrupted by Campo was really the turning point for Kanga. They had a lot of control as well as TBD tried to push, and Kanga able to swamp to at least keep an equal man advantage and then gain it back once plant was denied. So a good round, guys. 2 rounds left for them to be able to push this to overtime. Could be close. They're starting to feel like they've got this momentum back.
I feel like we were less than maybe half a second from really calling this map. If, as he mentioned, that plant went down, Joker was in the perfect position to play above. There is not a whole lot you can do except try and fake the defuse and get the kill, because outside of that, there's no real way to get up there and clear any attacker that would have been sitting there. So unfortunate for TBD, a fraction of a second away from potentially securing this map, but now they do find themselves under a little bit of pressure. 6-4, definitely not the scoreline I think I expected after the first 3 rounds. So a very admirable effort from Kanga so far to try and crawl this one back.
And the frag count, I'm just trying to do some quick math here. The frag count is just absolutely polarizing. I mean, just between Ipistyle and Cutie themselves on TBD, they've got 23 frags. And if you add up both Spruce, Wayne, and Leb, they just still don't even match that. Campo just gets them over the line. But the frag count is just hugely different. And I think that's obviously down to those flawless rounds at the start, but I really think that more dictates just the control that TBD's had. I'm really surprised that Kanga have been able to throw it back to 6-4.
TBD electing again not to bring Ying this round. May have been helpful in the last, of course, difficult to play, difficult to say. Joker repels up to be hostile. He's pretty critical in clearing some of the utility placed here early in the round, but on this occasion he will be run out on by Spruce, who secures that kill. He's detected outside, the refrag not there from TBD, and he will scathe away up the right stairs. So a great start here for Kanga.
Aggression in the face of TBD is going to be bringing Kanga back in here. It's a big pick taking the Nomad off if he hasn't got those air jabs down. That means that more jump outs or more flanks will be easier at least. And it means that TBD are going to be thinking a little harder about where they're pushing and more careful with these drones. Just really against the playstyle that they've had so far. So I like this start from Kanga. They've stalled out almost half the round here and they've prevented a lot of map control already from TBD. So things have really started to change and look a bit different here, guys.
Approaching the halfway point of the round now, a minute 30 left for TBD to try and bring this round back. Joker drops so early, so TBD's flanks will likely be quite exposed here. We have seen Kanga often roaming around the site, ready and waiting to flank as Cutie tries to find one above inside of Prep. Can't quite find it. That player will run away. Led with the C4, could maybe follow that up with a kill, and he does. That's actually Cutie, the player shooting at him earlier, taken off the board, and TBD really struggling to try and close this map out.
They really are. Kanga have just completely switched gears here. Mango's looking to get a little aggressive in prep, but it's Kanga that have all the control and probably some great crossfires. And as I say that, Mango's actually gets deleted. So it's a 5 versus 2, guys. Looking not at all like TBD are going to be able to bring this back. And the momentum is just, the swing is really dramatic here towards Kanga.
Ipistyle tries to wallbang one through the floor, but won't find his target. Even for these two experienced players, this is going to be a very tall order. Kanga playing some very hard to find cross peaks. Campo misses his shots though on Ipistyle and will pay the price. It's now a 2-on-4. If he can find 1 or 2 more, the round could switch in their favor, but it won't. Jack Daddy will be the last remaining member for TBD. Nothing he can do. I'm a 1 round away now from heading into match point. Definitely didn't think I'd be saying that after the start of this map.
No, and I think even when we were looking at a 6-2 scoreline, overtime just felt like an absolute distant fictional land, man. But they're 1 round off that. And reading Fireplace, they've had a 50-50 result with. They lost it the first time, and then they brought it back and had a pretty strong hold on the back of Campo being able to play pretty strong upstairs. And then later in reading. So if they can replicate that, we might be looking at overtime, and I'm just honestly shocked that I'm saying that after how the start of this map was.
Well, of course, we are yet to see overtime in Six Masters 2020. So, of course, there are no draws, and in the first day, none of the results went in such a fashion that we required overtime, the closest being, I believe, 7-5. So, definitely could be a first here in the series. Just, as you mentioned, when we were discussing this earlier, it felt like overtime was almost impossible, really, but Kanga have really fought against the odds and are looking like a real chance of being able to stop TBD from snatching this map.
10 seconds to go. 5 seconds
Run
remaining.
out there. Again, it was some Kanga aggression early from Spruce that really started the strength and set the tone for that last round. Maybe looking to replicate a little bit of that. Looks like there's some great time delay as well on that top floor, which is really, really important map control TBD will look to obtain early. And I think that's also a big point towards how Kanga have crawled it back with these defenses, is they've done a better job of stalling out TBD's map control, because they were taking it really swift in those first couple of attacks.
Jack Daddy very mindful of this run out on White Stairs. We saw, as you mentioned, Spruce attempt it last time and was successful getting the opening pick onto Joker. Jack Daddy likely swiftly getting onto the roof to avoid having the same fate. Instead, he will actually drop it down towards the front door in a safer position. Time again starting to wither down quite quickly, which I think has been a bit of a trend so far in this series. It feels like these rounds have been going by really quickly.
Yeah, they have, and that's actually a missed C4 below from Spruce. So not only is that not going to net him a kill, severely gives away his position. If Star now very much aware that he's being pulsed from below. Will now be careful not to walk over those holes, as Spruce is still hanging around there. Taking them a lot of time to get this map control over towards Cocktail. They've spotted out that player hiding in the corner, so they can attempt to flush that out. And if they don't do so within the next, I'd say 40 seconds, guys, it really does start to swing towards Kanga being able to solidify the round.
Love again holding Cocktail Lounge. The flash is raining out, but he doesn't get flashed. C4 still in hand. Could throw that out to try and net the kill. There is a drone that may have spotted his position. Lev will try and get the frag as he drops, but won't get the pick. Oof, there's a lot of frags going out. It's now a 4-on-3. TBD with that man advantage, looking to close out this map. Mango is critically with the diffuser above, and the key point of difference is that they have brought the Ying this round and can use that in the later stages of the round.
Definitely going to be much more helpful than a Thermite, for example, which is what Mango's has been bringing otherwise. That's particularly so for this bomb site. It could be the difference to get TBD the map instead of pushing it to overtime. But time has started to really wear away down to the final 30 seconds here. Mango's looking to abuse that Ying, dropping onto the pole. Spruce is blind. Final 30 seconds, guys. 4 versus 2. Can Kanga hold on for overtime?
Campe does get one. It's looking like it might be possible. Those Candelas creating additional noise and disruption for his team, but somehow the plant gets denied through all of that action. It's Levin, a 2-on-1. He finds one more. Can he find another? Just narrowly missing those shots as Cutie will now need to approach, and Lev will shut him down. And we're going to overtime. Lev is an absolute monster popping off there with the Vector. TBD just couldn't find him, couldn't get the kill. And Raven, it's time for round 13.
Unreal, guys. I cannot believe that we just made it to overtime. Even in that 3v1, Leb just stepped up, getting some great picks. I said to look out for him when we went through the lineups, and look at that. He's actually really made a statement with that round, and now Kanga are in a chance to all of a sudden actually be able to be in contention for map points here, actually taking the map.
I mean, I guess the caster curse is no longer true. Leb has proven that wrong. That's crazy.
He has.
I cannot believe he actually won that. What?
I know, that was actually nuts. That play was smooth. I mean, he just flicking over to the reading door. It was lucky they didn't even get the Sledge on that first shot, giving Sledge that chance to potentially bring it out for TBD, but not to be. And I'm just excited we get to see some overtime. It's the first overtime for Six Masters, and it hasn't taken us too long. It's only the third match of the season.
And I think of all the maps that we've had so far, this one's looked probably the most unlikely to actually go into overtime. I mean, if you're just joining us, TBD won the first 3 rounds of this map flawlessly. Some of those without even taking a single hit point of damage. So it was looking like this was just going to be a 7-0 write-off. Kanga were going to get absolutely smashed. But it just really wasn't the case. And now, somehow we're in overtime.
Yeah, man, after the first 3 rounds, this just looked like it was going to be totally impossible. And even when it got out to the 6-2, it still looked very much like it was going to be impossible. But Kanga have really flipped the table, and this is going to be a really interesting little overtime series here, because of course it is only first to 8, so we can get an 8-7 or 7-7 with the final round being the sudden death, so to speak. See what happens here is Kanga will get to be on defense for the majority of the rounds in OT.
Attackers have located a bomb.
This is the first time I'm going to be able to test out my spreadsheet match tracker. I've never had to track overtime, so hopefully that doesn't break. As someone's head almost got taken off there at the pixel angle. That would not have been a great way for Kanga to start off this round, but that player will just get away.
Daddy here just creeping around on that first floor. Previous rounds he was able to find one, even two, preventing that roam, that push around on the first floor. And this is already a really solid start from TBD, taking this piano and cigar map control pretty swiftly. Good to see, and it means that if they can get rid of those electric claws, they can start to open the hard wall into freezer and in towards trash bags, you call it, which is right near the bar. This is where Mangos was planting last time. They're really going to be set up for that execute. This is going to be a lot of pressure on Kanga really early.
Only a minute 20 left in this round. They've just been flying past, and now TBD need to begin to think about how they're going to mount the attack. That wall will once again be open for potentially a plant. We saw Campo just narrowly denying that the last time TBD attempted it. Of course, the tables are flipped a little bit here. Only a minute to go.
There's an ADS. ADS just caught an air jab and a frag grenade. That is a lot of good utility that you've just used to burn that. But either way, they have opened this wall, which means that they are in a pretty comfortable position with still 45 seconds to go. There is a player in freezer that was able to shut it down last time, and actually Mangos is going to start baiting it out, maybe even stick this. There are some great angles being held by TBD, and it's actually quite effective. Spruce shuts it down though, guys. 4 versus 4. Kit is going to be stuck at that breach. TBD get it down.
TBD will reattempt it. Jack Daddy tasked with the plant. Can they find the angle though? Spruce will. Does get taken out though, so it will be a 3-on-2. TBD with that man advantage and with the possibility of reattempting it once again. The third try in this round, and it's looking like this one could be the one that pays off. It's left to clutch out another round. He clutched out the previous one to head this game into overtime, but there's nothing he can do here in round 13, and TBD get the early lead here in overtime.
Kanga is not able to find the angles or get anything there for the denial. I mean, they did actually deny it twice. They were doing a pretty good job, but when it mattered, they weren't able to hold off. And that means that TBD, going into a defense round, are now on match point. And that's got to be a bit of an alarm bell for Kanga. They really were struggling on their attacks for a majority of them, of course, only winning 2 in that attack half. They are going to have to summon some strength here. And ooh, are they going to be summoning a Ying?
Looks like Spruce will be playing her once again. They will be attacking the same objective that they just defended. 3rd floor bar and cocktail. It's going to be very, very interesting if Kanga managed to revert the trend that they established earlier of struggling on these attacks. We may head to the 3rd and final round of overtime. But I'd have to say that just based on track record on this map, TBD should really close it out here.
You would think so, and it feels safe to say that, but part of me still doubts it. And I just think because Kanga brought that Ying, I feel like this could well be a close round at least. See whether that is the case. The ADS is banked there in Pixel, which Ying would be great to be able to clear that, in fact. Could be how she's used, or maybe Kanga might be summoning some inner aggression on the rounds. Pretty solid setup from TBD with a lot of utility. Again, this is really the style they leaned into a lot of on their defenses. Actually a source of stalling for Kanga.
Could even see something ridiculous here in this round, like a Skylight drop or something aided by those Candelas. It's definitely a risky time to be attempting something like that, but maybe Kanga feel that's the only way they can navigate through these defenses, which have been very solid from TBD for the most part. It was the very first round of this map that they won on this objective for TBD. It was flawless. Kanga definitely wanting to avoid that here, as of course that will give TBD a 1-0 lead in this best of 2.
Definitely slower than TBD were in obtaining the map control by this stage of the last round. TBD had already pushed deep into Piano, flushed out that Pixel position, and were already working on the walls. Pixel is actually still safe over in Pixel with a shield, with 2 ADSs. It's going to be a real difficult part for Kanga to have to clear out.
Flashes are coming out. Ippy style determined to hold this angle, will just get away. I think shots were raining out in his direction, but he makes his way back towards Bathroom. Probably not the start Kanga would have liked. That pick would have been quite important later in the round, but at least Pixel has now been cleared.
Pretty sure Spruce also just yeeted one of his Candelas into an electrified wall, so also not a great way to take that Piano control, but hey, they've got it.
Still being held quite aggressively down Whitehall though, so it's not a whole lot of control here for Kanga just yet. The wall has been open, but it's exposing a lot of their players, cramping them up in towards Cigar Shop. They only have a minute now to try and get this execute.
The real danger zone thing here is they've done nothing to clear out positions in Freezer or Cocktail or anything like that. They've obtained this west side control, and maybe Ying will be able to enable them to get some kind of plant down or allow some aggression through Bar to clear out these positions, but it's really feeling like into this final execute, I mean, nobody's lost HP. It's going to be a bit of a fight and a frag fest here as all this utility is coming out, guys. Looks like Kanga are going to be going deep.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
The Ying Candelas aren't enough to cover Wayne Man. Diffuser has been picked up again by Spruce, who's at the main bar. TBD need to try and deny it. The swing in late from Campo is absolutely massive. He gets a quad kill. That is so big for Kanga, but is it enough?
15 seconds
Cuties
to
left
go.
in a 1-on-1 effectively as Wayne Man was downed earlier. There's one smoke grenade left in his pocket and time on his side. Boats needs to go for the kill, but Cutie will secure it, and in doing so, give his team the map win here. That went a lot longer than I think we both expected, Raven. A valiant effort from Kanga, but just not quite enough.
Absolutely, and even that last round, I mean, Campo on the quad kill in that explosive execute almost managed to secure himself an ace. It was Cutie that shut him down from that bathroom position, and just not clearing that out came back to bite them. A great match in the end. I actually cannot believe how close it was. And look at that, Cutie, 18-7 in the end, guys.
Massive. 3 of their players in double digits. Absolutely nuts. And again, they started off this map with 3 flawless rounds. I cannot think of the last time I've seen that many flawless rounds straight. It was quite incredible. And then Kanga, they mounted a pretty decent attack. They won the last 2 rounds in that first half. They managed to win 4 straight in the second half. But when it really mattered in crunch time, in that overtime, it felt a little bit like old Kanga, and it didn't work in the end, clearly, as the scores show.
I think their biggest letdown in overtime was that defense round, the first one. They would have been kicking themselves not securing that. And honestly, I really feel like they should have chosen a different site, because I felt like they had held Kitchen pretty well previously, and Reading Room had been a site they leaned on a lot in that 4-round comeback. So I'm kind of surprised that they elected for top floor, but that attack really could have gone either way. It came down to that essential 1v1. Really could have been a 1v2. It looked like the revive was so close to coming up. Yeah, look, I'm just amazed Kanga able to bring that back considering how it started.
And I mean, that last round there was probably the only real round where we saw like the most stereotypical, like generic Ying play of just yeeting in those Candelas, a couple of smokes to try and cover. And it did almost pay off. In all of that confusion and all that noise going on, it was TBD just edging out in the end from the back of that clutch. I mean, Campo, he went massive in that last round. I don't know where those 4 kills came from, but he almost managed to win the round for his team. So I think it really shows, again, just how close this competition is, and no team is really going down without a fight, because it would have been super easy for Kanga to have just dropped their heads completely, and that could have turned into a 7-0. But they fought their way back. They knew that Kafe was defender-sided, and they were so close to, bringing it back in the end.
Yeah, and I guess it would also be fair to be a little critical of TBD, considering how strongly they started that map, and also just the caliber of their team in general versus the caliber of Kanga. For them to allow Kanga to actually bring that back to overtime, I think just also probably shouldn't have happened in a day that TBD seemed like they were playing so strong, but is what it is, and it ended up being a great map.
Well, TBD have taken the first map on Cafe 8-6, but come back very shortly. We'll have map number 2 very soon.
Bomb diffuser has been lost. Attackers recover the bomb. 15 seconds to go. 10 seconds to go. Attackers activated.
Are you like Caden, who loves to make the most of the slow loading times of his HDD?
Two hearts that beat in time. In the towers looking down all night, blocking out the sun that we need. Maybe we can change our stripes and colors. You're the only one I see. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise. Into my past and I count the numbers of the dreams that I left behind. I don't even care now that I've discovered a new kind of peace of mind. Up above us, looking down on us, there's an angel I know. We don't need to worry or discuss much. It's time for me to hit the road. Take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night.
G'day, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. I'm Guz, and joining me once again is a Raven coming off the back of a very exciting first matchup here between TBD and Kanga. The first map going in favor narrowly of TBD 8-6, but it wasn't looking like it was going to be that close to most of the map, did it?
No, it really looked like it was all one-sided. TBD getting 3 flawless rounds in a row to start us off, but I mean, hats off to Kanga. They really fought hard and brought it back much closer than we expected, actually taking it to overtime. It was a pretty good achievement for them in the end, and again, I think TBD maybe just caught getting a little bit complacent.
And of course, that was Kanga's map pick, so a little bit distressing for them. Of course, we know that the next map is going to be Consulate, TBD's map pick. It's looking like TBD should close this series out 2-0.
Yeah, and we were saying at the veto stage, Consulate is a strong map for TBD. So initially I was thinking, wow, I can't believe Kanga let that through. And I think it might come back to bite them. I mean, you need a bit of coordination on Consulate. And if it's not a map that they are strong on themselves or that practiced on, I feel like TBD are going to run over the top of them. But hey, we thought the same at the start of Kafe, so who knows?
Now, I definitely feel like Kanga on their Kafe attacks struggled a lot clearing the utility in some of the common choke points when they were trying to progress towards site. I feel like Consulate could have some pretty similar issues. If you look at the top floor, for example, you've got long desk to deal with, connecting and room and yellow stairs, all these areas that are common choke points. What the Kanga need to try and do here to improve their time management and their utility clearing, because that was a big issue on map number 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it just came down to Intel, because TBD were trying to deprive them of Intel playing a lot of Mute and a little bit of Mozzie. But I just think playing with a bit more confidence on their attacks. And on the other hand, I think they need to really work on stalling out TBD as much as possible when TBD are attacking, because they were gaining swift map control, and that was just getting them in good positions to close out their attack rounds.
Well, of course, you all at home had your opportunity to have your say on who you thought would win this series. Let's recap those poll results and see how you're tracking. And currently 48% of you are wrong, so F's in the chat for you guys, but 43% or 52% if you want to get real technical, still in with a chance.
Yeah, it could still be a series draw, and Kanga had a bit of momentum towards the end of Kafe. If they swing that into Consulate and fix some stuff, yeah, maybe. But at this stage, I'm still pretty confident that TBD will get the series 2-0. I think it might be closer than I initially expected, though.
I mean, if we look at the most recent form for TBD on this upcoming map of Consulate, it was actually a draw against Elevate, who are the top seeded team in this competition. So that is some decent results heading into this. But of course, the game has changed. Some of these teams have changed, and who knows what that could mean. Let's jump straight into it. It's TBD taking on Kanga, the second map in this best of 2. It's Consulate. It's looking like it could be another exciting matchup. Can't wait to get into this one. The ban phase will kick off. Are we going to see another Thatcher ban, Raven? Because I'm feeling like that may be the case.
I wouldn't be too surprised, and I'm wondering whether Ying's going to get through, because both teams actually used it a little bit with some success, and whether one of them is actually fed up with it is going to be interesting. But I think Thatcher's probably a safe bet. Oh, there's the Ying.
There you go. That's Ying taken out. So Thatcher still in play, at least for now. Kanga, one of the teams that were using her quite a bit, almost able to salvage one of those overtime rounds, and Ying will creep through. It's going to be Habana taken off the board. So that will be one less hard breach for Kanga to use in this first half.
Importantly, no Thatcher ban. That's going to make a whole lot more easier on Consulate, particularly taking Garage. Commonly, you won't see Thatcher brought, so you'll have to bring the Maverick trick the wall, that kind of thing. But now, with Thatcher up, it's going to make that a bit quicker, and it's going to make those Garage defenses a little bit trickier. And in terms of this other defense ban, I wouldn't expect anything overly traumatic. Maybe Valkyrie, Echo. Yeah, that's the Echo. So denial of intel for those defenders. Again, just makes it a bit easier to be able to move around and get your execute done.
And looking back at the bans for our first playday here in Six Masters 2020, every single map leading up to this one has had a Thatcher ban. So this is uncharted waters for Six Masters so far. Will definitely change up how these teams approach it, but interestingly enough, we're not actually going to see Thatcher picked here in the first round. Surely it's going to be a 6 pick, otherwise, again, we could see some real issues clearing this utility.
Could still be a 6 pick here. Will it be? Maybe not. Maybe Thatcher is getting the mirror treatment in that banned out that much. Even when he's available, you don't want him. He's not going to be picked, guys. In fact, they're opting to take the Jackal over the IQ. So maybe worried about their roam clear potential. That could be what they lean on to speed up their entries.
Well, we do know that TBD are renowned for playing quite aggressively. Hippie style being one of those, often caught in some very peculiar positions around the map. It can be a very difficult player to locate and shut down. But I mean, he's not the only player popping off here for TBD at the moment. Mango's in the last map, going absolutely enormous in the double digits. And not alone in that either. Many of these TBD players were popping off on Kafe. But maybe you're right, Kanga just trying to slow that down as much as possible.
A lot of utility invested over in admin here. 2 players actually playing deep. Actually using 2 mute jammers over there as well. So if Kanga have read into that well and maybe decide to do the CEO push instead, it's going to be a lot of utility that they won't even have to bother dealing with. See where they decide to go. Spruce is going to be on the Ash here, backing himself on entry. I don't think it was really that successful for him on Kafe. Consulate could be a whole different ball game here. Using an Ash charge early actually to clear out a hole behind that table. The 2 default positions, in fact, in meeting. Something they can come back and play later.
That second breach potentially maybe being a little bit shallow. Could still be a player sneakily hiding in there. Would be a little bit hard to tell at the moment. Either way though, here's Zippy style. Roaming down in towards Visa. You'd have to take that drone out, so his position may be being highlighted here to Kanga, who are trying to gather control of admin. Spruce is actually rotated now all the way on the other side of the map. Currently playing flank watch. We do have that Nomad on the board though to assist.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Kanga's decision to hard push into this admin here. There's some strong positions being held up there by Cutie and Joker, it looks like. And actually, I think they're just going to rotate off it now because it's going to take them a lot of time, and it's not something that they have proven strong at before in clearing the roam and being efficient at it. Campo's rotating off. He's going to repel on the CEO windows, see if he can catch anybody out. Kanga entering into the second half of the round now with very little map control.
Drones will come out now, trying to locate exactly where TBD have rotated to, as both Cutie and Joker make their way out of admin. So now they are well and truly prepared for this change in attack from Kanga, even repositioning a deployable shield late in the round. The TBD well and truly prepped for this.
Yeah, I mean, props to Kanga to rotate, but they haven't got a whole lot of time. And there's Ipisar with the classic run out, getting somebody, it looks like. Gonna retake a position in Piano, waiting to be hunted here. Trying to bait it out. Campo has found one off the site though, and it's gonna start being a bit of a frag fest here as they look to repel in, making it a 4 versus 2, guys. Looking like it's gonna be a bit of a difficult push here for Kanga, and TBD, in fact, close it out. Take the first round on Consulate.
A little bit of a strange round in how it played out. Both teams really forced to rotate. TBD coming out on top with time on their side. Of course, it is a better start to this map than it was previously for Kanga, who were victims of 3 flawless rounds in and against them, as we will head to basement for round number 2.
That we will, but not just yet, actually, guys. We're going to be going into a rehost. But that first round was a little bit messy and slow from Kanga, so I'm still concerned about how they're going to put these attacks together. Maybe for them it's just a matter of seeing some of these TBD defenses first, how they're setting up, the utility they're using, that kind of thing, and then being able to adapt to it later after they've actually lost one round initially. Well, that's not particularly great. Maybe that's just what they need at this stage.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we saw the likes of Jaeger and Wamai posing issues for these attackers as they tried to rotate around and clear those players that came back around from admin. They just couldn't clear them out. They were trying to flash them out. Wasn't really having much of an impact. Wamai still throwing out discs very late in the round, giving basically no opportunity for Kanga to clear those. And they're forced to basically just repel in, say a small prayer, and hope that it paid off. And in the end, they just didn't have the man advantage, and it was never really going to work out.
Yeah, and they never really achieved map control. I think up until that point, no one had really set foot in the building. Spruce shot some ash charges through a doorway onto the roof. I don't think that was pretty much it. So TBD were able to just freely move around, freely reposition. They had all the control, and I don't think it was ever really going to be Kanga's. And Ipistar was able to get a pick on the roam. I don't think he was ever fully drained out either. They never seemed to know where he was. Yeah, not a great round from Kanga. They're going to have to really look at this, because if they bleed too many rounds in their attack, I think on Consulate, it's going to be a lot harder for them to orchestrate something like they did on Kafe.
Yeah, we did see there just before the rehost that TBD had elected to go Garage. Assuming that sticks, how can we expect them to approach it? Because it feels like they're bringing a pretty universal lineup in terms of sticking that Jaeger, Wamai, some additional intel gatherers on top of that, which is, again, just making it so challenging for Kanga to approach these sites.
Yeah, I'm sure they are going to stick to what's been working for them on defense, and I'm also sure that Ipistar is probably going to be lurking around quite a lot. This is really a map that he seems to be a bit of a free spirit, moving between all the floors, all sides of the map just constantly. And it's going to come down to whether Kanga can read into that and trap him and maybe secure a free pick if he is by himself, because I mean, most of that first round, he was by himself. So if they were able to pinch it and they could give themselves a man advantage, I think that's going to be a pretty key part for them to be able to take these attacks.
I mean, as you mentioned earlier, the fact that no one from Kanga really stepped foot inside the building, how are you going to shut down these flanks? Yes, you have the Nomad on the board, but if no one's there to capitalize when those air jabs are triggered, or you have anyone covering those common rotates, Ipistar will be allowed to just run around, get picks. And if that trend continues, his numbers, they're going to rise. I mean, we saw on the last map on Kafe, I believe 3 players in the double digits, the last 2 not far behind. And that definitely cost Kanga in a lot of those rounds where they were just fragged out, again, with no refrags.
Yeah, and I think that just highlights a strength of TBD as an aggressive, pretty frag-heavy team. That's just their play style. And that doesn't seem to be really what Kanga's about. So I think that really was a polarizing point between those 2 teams. And I'm sure that's going to be the same on Consulate. So Kanga are going to have to play really smart here and play really adaptive to what TBD is doing, because it's not like that play style is immune from being shut down. We've seen many teams shut down that kind of aggression, and particularly the way Ipistar plays. Some teams are really great at just ensuring that he doesn't really get the normal frags that he does, and that just changes the entire structure of TBD. So Kanga need to be all about that if they want a chance of closing out Consulate.
Yeah, it almost feels like Kanga at the moment have been taking the approach of sort of ignoring him a little bit and trying to avoid walking into his crosshair early in these rounds and then worrying about him later. So would you say that maybe they need to be taking a more proactive approach and trying to shut him down while they can, and trying not to leave it late in the rounds where he's been having these impacts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be circumstantial. So if they identify early where he is, and if he is alone, then I think it's probably worth just getting the pinch onto him. Even if they refrag it out, at least then they don't have to worry about this lurking fragger that is usually around. And also, I think they just need to make earlier judgments, because they spent a lot of time droning out admin, checking the utility, wasting utility, trying to even do something with it. And they gained no control. They didn't get any picks. They didn't really do any HP damage. And with almost half the round gone, then they decided to rotate. I think while it was probably a good call, and it was probably better than admin, because that would have been suicide at that stage, it was pretty late. And it just meant that they had nothing going for them in that round.
I mean, something we can touch on because we have a little bit of time. Let's talk about TBD, because there might be people at home that have never really watched ANZ, watched Six Masters or Pro League for that matter. Last season in Pro League, they finished 3rd. They're only 2 points behind Elevate. They performed really well under an Augless banner for that entirety, for that season, for the end of that season. So they're not receiving some of the support that these other teams are. Maybe talk us through, for those who may not be aware, sort of what support can an org bring to a team, and what might TBD be lacking in trying to excel in some of these competitions?
Yeah, well, most importantly, these days in ANZ, which was a rarity initially, teams are salaried. So just being able to get some consistent money and income to ensure that you can focus more time into the game is pretty big here, because for a long time, teams were essentially part-time workers. They weren't earning much money. they weren't able to put all their time and energy into the game. And now that there's a lot of teams that are able to do that, it means that their performance and their consistency is really accelerating. And that's a point where TBD could be left behind, but they're not really. And so once they get that support, getting that salary, being able to focus more into the game, boot camps is another really important thing. Just in general, taking a lot of the weight off the shoulders means that more focus can be put on the game, skills, the strategies, that kind of thing. Who knows where that could take TBD once they actually get to that.
And I mean, on the flip side, we have Kanga Esports, who have had that organizational support for some time now. They looked really strong in the first half of Season 11 of Pro League, but that's when they had Pat and Worthy on the team, who have now transferred to other teams in ANZ. And there's definitely been a stark contrast in the way that they've played and the way that they have performed since then. I mean, we have seen a glimmer of hope in this first map tonight, where they can, against all odds, bring it back despite having a slow start, which we didn't see after those roster changes. So I think there's promising signs for them that maybe these changes haven't been the end of the world. They've been able to work through them, and I think the future, if they continue to grind it out, is looking pretty bright.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to say Pat, well, both Pat and Worthy, but predominantly Pat, left on attack seems to be their biggest issue. Losing an IGL and a source of aggression is not always easy to replace, and it still kind of feels like they're feeling around where that's at, because they've got some slow decision making, which I was touching on about that first round, that slow decision to rotate. And also it seems like no one's gaining any super confident entries to take that map control so that they have the footing. Again, we saw that evident on that first round. No one really got in the building at all. And you just sometimes need that confident player to be able to just rush in somewhere, gain some foothold, and that can just help start to destabilize the defense. Because it's not always about just getting the picks or killing the roamers. Just want to displace them. If they know that you are entered the building somewhere else, they might start to rotate and move around, and that can start to free up parts of the map.
And I guess that sort of does a bit of a full loop around to what we were talking about earlier with Ippy's style. Of course, he's been running around the map, but not necessarily in the way you're describing it in terms of it being forced on the defenders. He's just been doing it freely, and without that that direction and leadership that maybe Pat was bringing in the past, Kanga just struggling a little bit to maybe identify where he is or how they want to approach in clearing some of these roamers. And we saw that particularly in the first 3 rounds of Kafe, where they were just completely shut down and seemingly not having much direction. I mean, it was tied it up in the end, but again, I think it's just highlighting that Kanga still are going through some of these growing pains. And it's one of those time things. It takes quite a while, particularly in Siege with its complexities, to work through those issues.
Yeah, and even just the fact that, like you said, Ibstar is able to freely move around. It's not like he's being displaced. He's just running around because he can. Once they're finally droning him, more often than not, it looks like he's being able to shoot the drone and then just reposition somewhere else. And that intel is just dead intel at that stage. So again, that comes back to losing those aggressive players. And that's probably more playing into the hole that Worthy's left, because usually you'd have 1 to 2 aggressive players following up a drone, preferably 2, so that they can at best trade out a roamer. But without any of those guys backing up drones, the intel is just going dead. Those roamers are running free. That really is the source of pain for a lot of Kanga's attacks.
And I mean, looking ahead of this matchup, I guess one team next week that we'll have to deal with is LFO, who managed to take a map off Elevate last week. They'll be taking on this TBD lineup in their next match. Maybe we can talk about that for a little bit. What can we sort of expect there? Because LFO probably bring us pretty similar level of aggression that TBD do, and we saw that last night.
Yeah, I actually think that they're more similar in playstyles, and it's a completely different beast compared to Kanga, that's for sure. I'm actually excited for that matchup, given how LFO were able to play against Elevate. And on top of that, LFO would have had a lot of pressure coming into that Elevate game, being their first one in 6 Masters, people probably having not much expectations on them. And they really rose to the occasion. I think there's going to be less pressure going into the next game. And if they can hold their heads, yeah, I think TBD are going to be challenged pretty hard, to be honest.
And Kanga, of course, taking on Elevate, who lost a map to LFO. I'm trying to get these names right because there's a lot going on. What can we expect from them? Because I think Elevate arguably are probably a little bit more structured when they're playing well compared to TBD, just on surface value. How's Kanga going to try and approach that sort of play style? Because it feels like it might differ a little bit from what they're taking on tonight.
Yeah, it is definitely a different beast in the way that Elevate play compared to TBD. And I think Kanga are going to struggle with that, to be honest, because I really feel like what Kanga can do well on their defenses is something that Elevate will be able to counter. And so if Kanga can't bring in something better with their attacks to be more reliable, I don't think they'll be able to fall back on a lot of those defense rounds. But that's provided that Elevate are able to play to their strengths and show up, because to an extent, there was definitely some criticism of how Elevate played last night, and Vast alluded to in the interview that they weren't really doing a lot of the stuff they normally would, and there were some issues there that they're going to be trying to fix before next week. So if they do so, then I think, Kanga are going to struggle again next week.
Well, ladies and gents, we are back here on Consulate, the second map between TBD and Kanga. I almost said LFO because we were just talking about them, but I didn't. And it will be Cafeteria Garage, the first site here, or the first time this site will appear here on map number 2.
Locate and defuse bombs.
Been a little bit of a break. These teams may be having some time to discuss what's happened so far. Just chill out a little bit and work out how they want to try and approach the rest of Consulate.
It will be Garage. We talked about it a little bit here, and they've got a pretty strong lineup for Garage. The Valkyrie being able to get the additional intel to facilitate those roamers. We talked a lot about Ippy Styles' roam style, and that Valkyrie, you would assume, is going to be really a big part of enabling what he wants to be doing. So Campo has a big job ahead of him to be able to find those cameras to shut that down nice and early.
Attackers must locate.
Of course, keep in mind there was one hard breach ban, Habana, taken out by TBD. All the bans can be seen at the very tops of your screen. It was banned out by Kanga. Somehow I got that wrong. No! I don't know why I thought Echo's logo was Habana. So it was Kanga that did ban her out. But that does leave 2 other hard breaches on the board, Maverick and Thermite. Wayne Man on the ladder. And expect him to likely try and get that main garage open sometime during this round.
Ippy so far is actually playing on the basement floor, so not playing as freely, not stalling out Kanga as much. So this is a good opportunity for them to get in quickly, get this control, and if boats can get those air jabs out, well then they've contained him a lot earlier, and they can more comfortably deal with sight. And that's going to be the key here. They need to push on and really, really take this while it's free.
Minute already gone down in this round. Kanga establishing some nice control, but of course it's on the second floor. The bomb is all the way downstairs. Surprisingly, TBD, despite us during that rehost really talking about how aggressive they play, it looks like there may only be one player above site. Cutie inside of the bathroom. Ippy lurking a little bit around Archives and Joker on Spiral, but nothing too concerning for Kanga at the moment.
And not dealing with that utility very well there. I'm pretty sure it's even the IQ walking straight past it.
Oh no.
Not going to be very good. And Cutie, getting aggressive. Maybe that's not the play there. Campo shuts him down. Not being punished. And actually, they're pinging out on that camera, so that is going to spark the IQ to pull the scanner out and figure out what they didn't shoot. So it's actually been a good start for Kanga, but they've only got a minute to go, and they haven't really put that much pressure onto the bomb site.
Minute to go, and Wayne Man will get that main garage open. Keep in mind, he also has the diffuser in hand, and will be tasked with trying to plant that bomb if Kanga so desire. Not too many great positions Hull to cover the rotates, at least vertically, but horizontally there was until Leb was C4. So it's now a 4-on-4. Wayne Man's pre-firing multiple angles, unable to find a pick as the time continues to go down. Spruce will find Mangoes. That is the Valkyrie taken off the board. A lot of control here above from the attackers. They now need to try and convert that into an execute.
Yeah, not much time left to get this execute as well. Joker pretty contained. Plant's going to go down as Joker walks into the air jab. 10-second tier, guys. If this is confirmed, it's going to be post-plant.
2v3 as the bomb goes down. Spruce getting lit up as he makes his way down yellow. Somehow, Ippy will win that fight. But this is a very challenging post-plant. Both attackers well outside, holding a very nice cross angle, and Boats will get the first, leaving it up to Jack Daddy to find 2. Even if he finds 1 here, the second looks very unlikely, and there we go. Kanga will clean up the round. It's now one apiece.
But execute in the end from Kanga, and I think something that worked well for them is they were given that map control and they took it. And Cutie made a big error by giving them bathroom, playing too aggressive. So not only was he giving them bathroom, he actually gave them that pick. I think that was the real turning point for the round because Kanga were able to continue with that man advantage. And with that map control, it meant they could work side, get the execute down. TBD just maybe a little too aggressive, or not aggressive early enough, because if they contested that early map control, it could have played out differently.
3 unique sites in a row now as it's lobby and press selected by TBD, electing not to try garage again.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Pretty common bomb site to be picked on the third occasion here on Consulate. I don't feel like too many teams have become comfortable with defending the split bomb site. I mean, Fnatic, for example, is maybe one of the teams you could expect to go there, but of course, they're not here in Six Masters, so these teams will not have to worry about that. Kanga instead will have to prepare for this push. It will be interesting to see how many members will play off site here for TBD.
TBD are going to just have to find a bit of a balance there. I think they still need to be bringing some aggression to Kanga, because when there's a team not entering confidently and struggling a bit on the attack, what works really well is just playing that little bit more aggressive early, destabilize the start of their rounds, and that can just have a dominoes effect. But what we saw in that previous round of Garage, Ibistar uncharacteristically just stayed in basement the whole round. And I think that doesn't really play into TBD's strengths at all, and in fact I think that gives Kanga a bit of an opening that they were able to capitalize on.
Some early droning here from Kanga. Looking to establish some control over towards admin. There's 3 members downstairs and looks like maybe one above in Joker. Cutie looking like he may be over towards Spiral. So not a whole lot of presence here, at least vertically from TBD. Probably not as much as I would have expected heading into this side.
They are contesting this nice and early though, which is great. It's Ibistar and Joker, which is a very big adjustment to the previous rounds. And this means that Kanga are going to have to make some decisions on how to deal with this. And Mangoes is actually in a very unpredictable position there at the lobby doorway. So if that's not effectively droned out, there is a pest there. And it's going to be a difficult point. He might be able to get a free pick. Misses it though, guys. Bad opportunity there. And Kanga lucky to get away with that one.
Oh, Mango's narrowly missing the second opportunity as well. That's one on the console windows taken down though. Leaving it in a 5-on-3. Wayneman though, he gets one. Lebs tries to find one over towards Spiral, not quite getting the angle of the player that appeared to be over towards benches. As time is depleting. Did he not see him to the right? Surely Leb saw that. I don't think he did. There was actually a player in his line of sight, but he doesn't go for the shot. He will eventually try and light up the player in antechamber. Misses those as well. As it is a 4-on-3 with a minute to go.
Trying to hold this angle is Wayneman. He's waiting for somebody to peek him in that Z hallway, but it's not happening. Mangoes is trying to get a little bit cheeky there and towards from chamber towards Spiral. There's 2 Kanga players now stacked up in Spiral, and all that Goom line coming out at a bad time. Does make it a 3 versus 2 as Ibistar trades back, but Kanga holding strong, fading away though. Leaving it all up to Spruce here, guys. He's on the top floor.
Gets hit by Goomine, elects not to pull it out immediately, instead going for the barbed wire and the ADS. Does get pulled out. There is a player, I believe, to his hard left, and Spruce was being spotted out that entire time by the default. Hatch is reinforced, so he can't pop that C4, narrowly missing him. This player on the left will swing wide. Good night, Spruce. TBD will take the round. Kanga just never looking very comfortable when they tried to approach the site.
They were able to string together some trades, but never anything too solid that gave them that window to look like they might have been able to get an execute or even just shut TBD out of sight. So I think that early aggression paying off from TBD. They did get the first 2 picks, which meant they had a solid man advantage. So well played by them. They're going to go back to the top floor. Well, that will hold for them if they can play it aggressive in admin, maybe Kanga will struggle.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Really actually bringing the mirror. So we were talking about it earlier, the mirror effect being that she was banned out so much, and even when available, she was not getting picked a whole lot. So the fact that she's getting picked now is really interesting, and I'm not sure whether Kanga are going to be ready to adapt to this.
Sorry, I had my mic muted there. You know, you perfectly led on from the point that I was making, that Thatcher, despite being banned for the first time in this tournament, isn't being played. And of course, Mira is an operator that is often banned, but still doesn't have a massive presence when she is available. So, very interesting on both sides so far.
I'm very curious how this mirror is going to be dealt with. I mean, it's going to give Kanga an extra job to do. They're going to have to deal with it in a special way because they don't have Hibana, right? That's really the traditional way to deal with it. Thatcher Hibana combo is great because there's electrocution on it. Clear that with the EMP, open the mirror with the Hibana pellets, and then you're good to go. But that is not an option for them. And I think, again, admin's probably not the play with the way the mirror is set up and the fact that QT's playing it. And he has a teammate in Printer to help back him up.
We saw Kanga have issues clearing admin in the first round, where they ended up rotating all the way around over to the console windows, not leaving much time for an execute, and pretty much giving them no control of the map. And it may well be a similar case here, as Spruce does rappel over towards Spiral Stairs. Not really a whole lot he's going to be able to do from this position, as TBD pretty well protected, and this rotate will eventually come out.
Yeah, it looks like they just decided, again, not to hard push into admin, and TBD are reading into it instantly. They're going to rotate all the way back and take map control on the other side. So Kanga just constantly finding themselves pushing into it, and Ippy even having the peace of mind to move those ADSs around, which means it's not an easy utility clear. Given they've already used some, I think this is going to be really difficult for Kanga to be able to obtain the important map control.
Spruce again on the Ash, trying to get aggressive as they attempt to flush out Mango's playing on the yellow stairs. He is flashed. The push not really coming out from Kanga, so he can sit there quite comfortably. Being assisted as well by Joker on the Wamai. Just over a minute now left in this round, and again, Kanga just having issues trying to clear out some of these positions. This yellow clear is super risky going up the stairs. Mango's surely, with those gas grenades and the shotgun, can hold this out.
Yeah, he's really going to be able to stall out this position, and it's going to come down to Spruce having to play aggressive. What a great shot from Mangoes onto the skylight at yellow stairs, just affirming the strength of this position as a smoke player. Spruce is about to push into the shotgun. He's taken out. Mangoes on the double now. Looking like it's going to fall apart here, Guz.
Oh
as Mangoes pushes and gets a third.
No way, that should be allowed. And he finds four, going for the ace now. Wayman doesn't want to give it to him. The jump out will come through. Does he see him to his right? He does, but he can't land the shots. The ace won't be his. And now Wayman is left in a 1-on-3. Time not on his side, but the time he gets to the top of yellow, he's not going to have much to work with. C4 there to slow him down even further. A couple of players are watching at that angle, and he will be shut down. The question is, what were Kanga thinking in trying to clear that? Not once did they try and clear him from the window, from bathroom. Nothing. It was just, let's run up the stairs and hope that we hit a shot. And with the odds against you like that, it was never really going to work out.
Yeah, it really was a bit of a questionable strat. I mean, they're dedicating so much time to admin early, and they're achieving nothing with it. They're spending utility there that can't be used to clear up positions like yellow, and it meant that Mangoes just played it freely, and he decimated them. So, top floor, a massive Achilles heel for them, and they need to fix something there because everything is not working.
Of course, Kanga still looking in better shape than they did on the first map, where they actually lost the first 4 rounds straight. So getting a little bit better in that regard, but keep in mind this is TBD's map pick, so I only expect them to get stronger as this map evolves. Once again, they will bring a mirror, which did have a pretty significant impact in how Kanga elected to push that previous round.
Yeah, it's definitely something they weren't able to deal with at all. So Mangoes is going to be on the mirror this time. He's not sticking the smoke, but either way, going to have a bit of an anchor impact on the round. Beauty looks like he's going to be reprising the bathroom position he was in before. I feel like if he just plays this a little more passive, that's going to be a big stall point for Kanga in itself.
Mango's placing the first of those mirror windows inside of bathroom to assist Cutie's hold from above. We did see Cutie last time holding this position quite comfortably until he elected to rush out. A little bit ill-advised and he was shut down. Thank you, MC, for showing the second mirror. That'll be on the connecting wall between the two sites. So it will again be up to Kanga to try and flush those positions out and deny the powerful intel that can be gathered from these positions.
Pressure early towards lobby and bathroom. It's going to be felt by Cutie. It looks again like TBD aren't really having a massive amount of presence off-site. I think really hurt them last time, but that was compounded by that Cutie aggression. So if they are able to hold on to bathroom and this first floor a little bit longer, that will create a pretty solid stall point for Kanga, and it's something that we've seen them struggle with time and time again.
Kanga making sure to take out the defaults this time. On the previous occasion, the front lobby camera was up for quite some time, even despite having the IQ on the board. Basically giving free intel to TBD, so hopefully they can tie that up a little bit here. Meanwhile, Cutie still chilling out in the bathroom. We often see TBD using this position on top of that toilet. Gives a nice little angle and it's pretty safe. So Kanga definitely have the odds against them trying to clear him out.
And they're going to have a real tough time trying to even figure out whether there's somebody in there because of all these mute jammers, and they're not bringing the Thatcher to clear it when the Thatcher's available. I mean, it could be such a simple solution to a lot of these positions. And a lot of this utility, they're having to nade this from above when it's a simple EMP job. Really surprising, but anyway, Kanga progressing on. They've got less than a minute to go though. Finally getting that garage wall open. See if they can get some kind of execute happening here.
Cutie just waiting patiently with that trigger discipline. Shoots once but doesn't get the kill. Shoots a second and doesn't hit that one either. He's missing shots left, right and center. He'll eventually get Spruce and he gets the second onto Campo. Kanga still unable to shut him down despite Cutie missing so many shots. And just like that, it's a 5 onto Wayneman's made his way sneakily into white. Could potentially find a couple of picks as he progresses forward, but it's a 5-on-1. That mirror is likely going to spot him out. No, it'll be the sound as he tries to pre-fire that angle, and now he's one shot. TBD will surely win this round, and they do in flawless fashion. My goodness, Cutie from above, just decimating that clear.
He did, but he pretty much did the equivalent of a siege airball at the start of that little play in bathroom. Just absolutely whiffing those shotgun shots, finally downed them and took out 2 players. And look, that just showed the massive difference. Oh, we're going to get to see it. Absolutely. Actually, he didn't even whiff that one, just took him low. There was the whiff, but oh my lord. Either way, it really opened the round up, and it just shows that the difference there is if he played passive in that previous round, it could have been a similar result. I mean, he gave Kanga a free pick by aggressing. By playing patient, he opened a big hole in the Kanga attack.
4-1 now in favor of TBD. We did see Kanga crawl it back to 4-2 in the first map, and it gave them really a fighting chance, taking it all the way to overtime.
Attackers need to locate and
But again, it's really hard to back Kanga so far in this map like it was previously. They're not looking very comfortable on these attacks. TBD, there's some very good map control. And as we alluded to in that previous round, Kanga are again not going to bring Thatcher, and I mean, it would be interesting maybe to ask after this match if we get an interview as to why that's the case, but it feels like so many of these simple problems, as he put it, do have a simple solution, and it's not really being used.
Yeah, like really, the position of Cutie one well-placed EMP in chamber would have solved everything. They would have cleared Mu Jammers, been able to drain it out, seen the position he was playing, and then they could have started to dedicate some utility to clearing that. And that would have been all of maybe 20-30 seconds if they're efficient. Definitely some adaptation issues there from Kanga, and they are facing a potential 4-2 half yet again if they can secure this round.
Spruce on entry once again, this time on Zofia. He was previously playing Ash with the G36C ACOG combo. Zofia still providing a lot of power here. That M762 is very strong. Hopefully for his team he can find a couple of picks and, just like the previous map, bring it to 4-2. Give themselves that chance on the defense to stack some rounds back, try and stack some pressure back onto TBD, who again are looking very comfortable.
My air jab is deployed.
Again, Kanga seemed to be struggling to obtain that early map control. Over a minute played and real progress made into the building or onto the TBD players at that. So playing pretty comfortably around site. That's just something that we've never seen Kanga overcome in both of these maps on their attacks.
Nearly approaching the halfway point already here in the final round of the half. The last opportunity for Kanga to try and close down what could be a very big gap if they lose the round. Spruce still probing, trying to find this first pick. He's found 3 so far. Post-rehost to the... We'll use some utility inside of Bathroom Jack that he was cleared out by Leb. And the plant's already going down by Wayne Man. The smoke shutting down Mango's, the flame as well, preventing him from rotating. He does eventually get through and does get one onto Campo. Is refragged though by the planter, leaving it in a 3-on-3 post plant. Boats gets one more, leaving it up to Joker and Ipistol, who haven't really had an impact so far in this round, unable to deny the plant. Leb does secure his double and they will close out the round. So Kanga ends it 4-2 in favor of TBD. Is this the start of another comeback by Kanga?
Man, I mean, I think they just caught TBD sleeping a little bit there. Maybe TBD just getting too comfortable with the fact that they had so much map control and not keeping an eye on intel, or the fact that they had snuck in through the back into lobby to get the plant down. But either way, Kanga did get that round, and you're right, maybe it was the start of the Kanga comeback. They've given themselves another 4-2 half, staying in touch at least with a round differential of only 2. If they can lean on some strength on their defenses yet again, we might be seeing a similar result to Kafe.
I must say, I definitely like that phrase, Kanga comeback. It has a bit of a ring to it. I definitely approve of that. Sounds good. It might be
hashtag goes.
Oh. Nah, the only hashtag that's relevant in this game is Spruce is the problem. We all know that. Or maybe if they lose both maps, hashtag Spruce is the problem.
Might be right. Wait and see what they can do for this one though. Spruce is really playing a lot of pulse tonight, in fact. Playing more of a support intel style role. Deciding they value him to be collecting intel instead of just trying to frag out. See whether it works out for them. They're bringing a pretty heavy utility-based lineup. For my Jaeger Goyo combo.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Big difference here is Joker bringing the Thatcher, an operator that, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't picked once by Kanga, despite him being in play for the entirety of this map. Not banned out for the first time here in Six Masters 2020. Currently going 1-3, but doesn't really matter if you're playing Thatcher. Your main role is to clear utility, not really to get frags. And it'd be interesting to see how he manages those 3 EMPs over the course of this round, and I guess the rest of the half as well.
Yeah, I just want to see whether it really prevents TBD from stalling out, because I mean, we talk so much about Kanga's pace and them stalling, and I think a lot of that was based around them unable to move freely on a lot of that utility, having to deal with Mu Jammers everywhere. EMP might deal with that, and a simple run out here from Spruce actually catches that Thatcher off guard. Those EMPs not going to be used. Pretty impactful jump out there actually from Spruce.
Probably the worst operator to lose early on this style of attack. So well played by Spruce. A big impact frag to open proceedings here. Plenty of time for TBD to correct this round, but so much utility to clear. I mean, we can hear those ADSs already catching some of those projectiles. This will be tough.
Yeah, and 2 magnets placed in the same area there, so it's going to require a bit of work to burn out, because they are going to have to think about that kind of thing now. They will have to burn those ADSs, and they don't actually have some great utility to do so. Ends on whether Mangoes has flashes. He does have those stun grenades, so that can be the main thing they'll lean on, because otherwise it's going to be down to Cutie's frags or Ipisar's concussions, and he's actually used those. So they don't have a whole lot of utility to actually be able to clear things like those magnets.
TBD now quite close to the objective. This execute though, still a little bit away from being possible, or at least being viable. Ipisar with the diffuser in hand on the balcony. He'll likely try and jump in and get some coverage to his hard left, but he needs his teammates covering connector, covering long desk so that he doesn't get wide peaked. And that's the challenge with that utility being so hard to come by. It's a very tall order.
It isn't actually Ipisar with the diffuser there. I'm sure he's going to drop it for somebody else. I'd be surprised if he's actually the one that plants, because I would have felt that he's more so the player you'd want covering. But either way, we'll see how it goes into the final 30 seconds. Kanga do have the man advantage, so this could be a comfortable plant denial here for them.
There we go, Ipisar's jumps in, he goes for the plant. 7 seconds, he will be exposed for as these players try to cover. It's a little bit sketchy, but I believe the bomb may have gone down. No, it was actually denied, so it's now a 2-on-3. Make that effectively a 1-on-3 now as Jack Daddy is left all alone with 5 seconds left. He finds the first pick, but he has no time to make it anywhere near the bomb and win this round for his team. It could have been a very different story if that bomb went down, but Kanga just able to deny it, and somehow it's now 4-3.
Oh yeah, it could be a very similar story to Cafe. I'm gonna call it just yet, but I mean, it was a 6-2 comeback from Kanga on Cafe, and it's definitely not the kind of margin. And this was really a big impact to play that changed how the round could have progressed if they were able to use those EMPs to an effect. They probably would have had a lot more time, and of course the extra man to help with that execute. Great job from Spruce. Kanga gonna actually go to the lobby press room next, guys, not going to garage.
Definitely a little bit strange, and I guess seeing Spruce in the highlight reel also a little bit strange. Never thought I'd see the day, but there you have it. Spruce going big. In all seriousness, that was actually a very big kill and very much aided Kanga in winning that round. TBD having a pretty similar fate to their opponents in that attack, just finding it hard to really find their feet and just narrowly avoiding, or narrowly unable to get that bomb down, which did cost them in the end. That is an interesting mute jammer from Campo.
Yeah, not sure. It's only going to really catch a jumping drone, right? Because mute jammers don't mute below. Is it to mute something else? Not sure.
Yeah, I think maybe because it's on the platform, the radius will go above the floor. Maybe somewhere near Visa door. I don't know. It's
Visa
hard to
hatch?
say. Maybe.
The only thing I
don't
can
know.
think of is maybe it'd be Visa hatch. But anyway, we'll wait and see whether it actually has any effect or not. And we'll see what TBD do, because yeah, I think they did stall out a bit, but they also actually got themselves in a pretty good chance to attempt that plan. I mean, it was so close to going down. And I think while they were sticking it, they had at least 4 up at that stage. So it was doable. Kanga just did a great job at denying. They can do a similar job here. And I mean, it well and truly could be their round, but they do have some roamers on this top floor to contend with.
One of those does appear to be Leb, I think, on Diego. Leb often playing more supportive and passive roles on the defense, but recently he's been quite aggressive. Talk about aggression, Jack Daddy trying to floor bang Spruce, who is playing below. Playing around that mute jammer that was placed earlier, in fact, as he gathers some intel for his team. That heartbeat scanner proving to be quite effective. Kanga seemingly aware that they are pushing now through admin.
And even if that mute jammer is just to jam drones around the entrance of Visa door there, I think there's just so many windows you can rethrow your drone through. It's not maybe not a great use of the mute jammer, but either way, Spruce has actually opened it up again, Guz, with a C4 onto Joker. Those EMPs not being able to be used yet. 2 rounds in.
And Kanga, if they're expecting that same player to be on the same operator, they should know now that Thatcher is taken off the board as Wayman is deleted from the server by the hands of Mango. He's currently going 7-4. Had a massive play earlier on this map over towards Yellow Stairs while they were defending, but still proving to be quite impactful on these attacks. I think the main thing here for TBD to try and execute is either denying the vision that this mirror has or trying to pop it, because it seems to be giving a lot of intel, at least for boats at the moment.
They don't really have a lot to deny the vision other than really concussing that player or using frags or stuns to just push him away for a moment so they can get ready in that position. Spruce has found another. He's let loose on these defenses here. He doesn't have a C4 to deny below, but he can call out if the plant is going down. It's been covered from above by Cutie. No denial at this stage. Mango's pulled off though, guys. Maybe could have been a chance to stick it. Could cost him here. 3 versus 3, 20 seconds.
Mango's does get it down though, leaving it in a 3-on-3 post plant. The jump out also denied. And it's now Spruce left to clutch it up. He needs to hit the ace. He's been absolutely massive so far in this round, but he needs to find 2 more. He's also very low on HP. And with the UMP in hand, that's not the best scenario. Tries to 360, drop the hatch. Definitely could have been cool if he hit the shot, but he doesn't. And TBD will shut him down and extend that lead just a little bit now.
Kanga just found wanting in the department of plant denial. They had the intel. It seemed like Spruce scanned it out. So I thought I heard a C4. I didn't see where it got thrown. Maybe in the direction of Mango's, and maybe that is what caused him to pull off. But either way, nothing else there, such as a smoke would have been great in that position to be able to deny or stall them out. Well read from TBD though. They got that plant down and it really did secure that victory. They're up 5-3 now, 2 rounds away from securing this map and the series.
We are again going to see Joker on the Thatcher here in the 9th round. Hasn't unfortunately had a massive impact so far, being taken out as the early pick or the first pick in the last 2 rounds. Both of which
Attackers need to locate
were
and
by
defuse
Spruce.
bomb.
He's had a pretty big defensive half so far. Got the jump out 2 rounds ago, and in the last round managed to get a 3k, but just wasn't quite enough. The rest of his team unable to aid in denying that plant.
Sticking the mirror? Interesting. I mean, I feel like it's been a while since we've seen such an amount of mirror play. Usually because she's either banned, but even when she hasn't been banned, not many teams picking her.
10 seconds
But
left.
it's yeah, a solid pick here so far. Consulate's a great map for mirror, a lot of good spots
5
for
seconds remaining.
her utility, especially the upper floors.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
I mean, I kind of miss Mirror a little bit because once the bans were introduced into competitive, we, as you mentioned, have basically hardly seen her. Before that, Mirror was, yeah, a little bit, maybe OP would be one way to describe it. She was very often picked, particularly on some maps and sites. I think it's good to see her have a little bit of a return here as Sparks away. You could not script that. 3 rounds in a row. Spruce has gotten 1, the opening pick, 2, the opening pick onto Joker, and 3, the Thatcher taken off the board first. And on this site, that is probably going to be even more devastating.
I can just picture what Joker must be thinking. He just must be like, this guy, man, I cannot get in the building or even close. He's barely survived the first minute of any of those rounds, in fact. So, look, Spruce is really putting Kanga in some good positions to be able to close these rounds out. They're big picks to be getting at the start. Not being able to use those EMPs at all is a pretty big deal.
They still have Jack Daddy on the board to at least locate where some of these pieces of utility may be placed, but clearing them could be another story. Jack Daddy as well will be able to spot Spruce here on the heartbeat scan. He needs to be mindful that he doesn't get floor banged from above. Jack Daddy doesn't have his scanner out currently, so will not be able to see him. Places down a Claymore to cover that flank. As of course, having that man disadvantage means I may have to pull someone off dedicated to that role. Cutie as well, he's above, creating some disruption as the C4 rains out. And here we go, this is the issue, trying to clear this utility. Cutie forced to use a grenade, should be able to clear what I believe is an Electro Claw,
Bomb located by
to
attackers.
try and allow Mangoes to open up the garage.
He got one. I mean, there's still another one there, but he got the important one, which means Mango's going to open this right panel. Jack Daddy eats a C4, though. Might have seen it coming from his scanner. You're going to get both parts of the wall open. Give themselves about 45 seconds to set up and execute, but they only have 3 players up against 5 on the defense. I mean, Spruce is low, but he's still going to be able to collect some intel, call it out for his teammates, and have some kind of an effect here. Ibisol trying to hold the flank, and that means he's not going to be imparting anything onto this execute. It's going to be pretty grim for TBD in the final 20 seconds here.
Still some Mirror as well, holding these positions. Cutie from above though gets one as Ibisol as well shuts down the flank, and Mangoes will go for that plant. This could well be a 3-on-3 post play, and it looks like it might be as Mangoes does secure it. That's Mirror taken off as well. Oh my goodness, somehow TBD are bringing this round back. It's now left up to Leb, who finds one, but he needs to find 2 more. Mangoes is very low, but Ibisol will surely be in a great position to refrag it. If TBD secure this round, they will head to match point with a 6-3 lead. That'll be a very comfortable position for them as Leb will slowly make his way down yellow. Only 15 seconds left on that defuse, and he will eventually be taken out. Ibisol with a great play in that round off-site helps him to secure the round, and as I mentioned, that's now match point in their favor.
Kanga really let that one slip through their fingers. It was 20 seconds on the clock. They had 5 players up against 3. And TBD just went on an absolute slaughter. It went all the way into from 5 versus 3 to 3 versus 1. And in just a matter of seconds. So maybe that flank a little too late from Leb, or just some positioning a bit sloppy on site. But yes, Kanga see themselves in a necessary comeback position if they want to force overtime yet again here on map 2.
Console meeting, potentially the last objective we will see played here if TBD tidy up their execute on this site.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
I've seen Kanga successfully defend upstairs before, and they will return there in hopes of trying to crawl back here. Of course, the big talking point in this round will be Spruce versus Joker. Will Spruce be able to clear the Thatcher first in this round? Very interested to see what's going to happen there if Spruce will continue to play aggressive, because he has been setting up the rest of his round really nicely for Kanga, but unfortunately it just hasn't quite been enough.
10 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, and I mean, in that last round, they'd played it so well. 2 minutes, 30 seconds of that round would,
Attackers must locate.
I wouldn't say perfect for Kanga, but had been played next or close to it, and it all ended up going to waste. So they need to be good in the early rounds. Bruce has been assisting that, but of course they need to close it out in the late rounds.
Joker being very, very careful here of every single possible run out and every window peek on this map. Bruce is below inside of Archives again, gathering some intel. I believe he may have spotted Joker for a very short moment, but he's already made his way down towards Garage. So it looks like so far, Joker will be able to survive, which is definitely great for him and his team.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of intel running around this bottom floor here, able to spot out the IQ at the lobby door. He's just going to rotate around, and so far TBD taking a bit of time to approach and decide where to enter. Looks like it is going to be the admin side. They got 3 players over there. So, as you said, being very cautious about a lot of these runouts here. Definitely has been traumatized by Spruce in these previous rounds.
Mango's getting to work inside of admin, using 2 of his exothermic charges to create some angles in towards long desk and the surrounding rooms. Leb shuts down Ippy's style, so Kanga will have the man advantage. Joker probably happy that he wasn't the first pick in this round.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still a chance it's there. You know, Spruce could be the one to take him out, and I think that would just compound some frustration. Ampo is in a bit of a tight situation there in the corner. 2 players on the meeting windows, and players also pushing him from Printer TV area. Makes it tough. Jack Daddy does finally get a trade back to equal out the man count. Still a minute to go, so they have some good control here. And there's the Danger Man Spruce off the board, guys. This is looking like it might be good for TBD in this 3 versus 3, actually 3 versus 2 now situation.
Couple of frags below will end the life of Leb in the end. TBD securing that man advantage as we head now into the later stages of this round. Gunfire ensuing at the top of Spiral. Wayne Man decides it's safer to back off for the meantime, exposed to quite a few angles. He needs to be mindful he doesn't get shot from the balcony to his right or drinks and main stairs. It's now a 2-on-2. Campo is now finding himself flashed on site, but the push isn't quite timed well enough by TBD, unable to secure any sort of con control. Cutie now with that intel will go below with the grenade. This could be a massive round to open up the round, but he doesn't quite hit it. Campo with a slither of HP will be able to relocate that nade, not quite in an ideal position. And now there's only 10 seconds left. Joker's shut down, leaving it all up to the lone attacker, and Kanga will manage to bring that round back.
Some really great positions played by Campo and Wayne Man there to be able to close that out. Bit unlucky from Cutie, just quite marginally missing that frag grenade from below. If he was able to get that onto Campo, then I have to think that could have definitely gone in a different direction. 6-4 now it does. The Kanga comeback could be a thing. 2 rounds to push it to overtime.
Starting to look a little bit more likely. TBD a little bit shaky in this second half, but they still do have a pretty significant buffer to work with. Cafeteria and Garage will be their site of choice for Kanga. We've seen them attempt it once. They did lose it off the back of some pretty good post-plan and plant phase or execute phase plays from the attackers of TBD. Kanga really caught off guard despite having the man advantage in that phase of the round. So if they could tidy that up and slow down the attackers in the early phases, they could well win this round and be one step closer to that overtime.
Yeah, I mean, this very much could have been their round last time they held it. Similar lineup, and they can stick to their guns, and, you know, Spruce can get Joker early. Could really set themselves up to hold this, because, yeah, if that Thatcher isn't able to use the EMPs on the wall. That being said, actually, I just noticed there's no wall denial inside of Kanga. So that means wall will be free. That could be a bit of an oversight if TBD see that nice and early.
The Spruce and Joker face off will once again ensue. Spruce playing on that same side of the map, gathering that early intel on any players entering from the eastern side. So far so good for Joker, again being very, very careful. Understandably so. Doesn't want to be the first man down. But as you mentioned, without any hard breach denial, Thatcher may not be as important here.
Ooh, that player not being caught rotating. It was Spruce actually across the top floor. Fortunate with timing there. Leb rotates down Spiral, so Kanga are going to be forfeiting that top floor control. Mangoes catches Spruce. Not sure whether that was a jump out or just rotating in general. Looks like it was rotating. So he won't be able to take out Joker this time. And that means that Kanga are also down a man in that first minute. This is putting TBD in a pretty good spot to be able to have more control than they did previously.
Minute 50 left on the board now. TBD pretty satisfied with their top floor control. Will begin to drone the first floor and make sure that's clear. That will likely then cue Cutie and maybe even Jack Daddy if he's running breaching charges to head in towards Piano. Try and displace some of these defenders on site. Jack Daddy actually running Claymores. So maybe Joker that's the one tasked with creating some of these angles. Jack Daddy also, of course, looking for some gadgets. Lucky not to get his head taken off there. A player at 5 stars will light him up though as the wall is open.
There's still so much time on the board for TBD to be able to do something here. Campo is going to play a massive role in whether Kanga can stall this out long enough to make it a bit more chaotic. He's the one holding those smoke bays, the best chance for denial that they've got. They can get themselves a pick, might put themselves in a position to swing this round back in their favor.
It's a 5-on-4 as TBD start to discuss how they will execute the site. Mango's patiently waiting outside the breach as they will now begin to enter. Mango's attempts to plant once, but that gas grenade will force him over towards the black car as he will re-attempt it. Maybe a little bit more exposed, but it looks like he will be able to stick it. The denial just isn't there from Kanga. Now it's a 5-on-3. Mango's will try and open up the left side of the ball. Needs to be mindful of the run out. Still somehow secures the kill, and this is looking like it will be map and series in favor of TBD if they can close out this round. Wayneman left in a 1-on-5. Incredibly unlikely, and as he jumps over yellow, he manages to get one, but the refrag will surely ensue, and it does. TBD will take Consulate, and in doing so, the series will be theirs 2-0. A fantastic performance from them, and Kanga just not quite having enough to get over the line.
No, that final round there just felt a little unfortunate. I mean, the Smoke Babes missing the mark completely. The first one was great, but with Mango's repositioning, not sure if they just lacked the intel, but 2 wasted, not denying plant. Mango's with another big game. Cutie also has had a great series in general. Solid series from TBD to take it a 2-0.
Yeah, an 8-6 or 7-4. I'd be pretty happy with that if I was TBD. Maybe a little bit close on the first map, particularly considering they had such a strong start, but they managed to show up when it mattered, when the pressure was really on their team. When Kanga started to crawl back, they finished things off. Same as with the second map, Kanga again started to mount a little bit of a comeback, started to have some momentum go their way off the back of some of Spruce's plays on Joker, for example, but the rest of his team managed to step up. They shut down Kanga, and now they have full points to end proceedings tonight.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we said the same with Wildcard last night when the second map was really close, the 7-5. All they'll focus on is the 2-0. They got maximum amount of points for the ladder out of that, and that's the most important part. It's going to be the same for TBD. On the other hand, with Kanga, though, I mean, for a team that a lot of people probably wrote off against TBD, they can look at this and I guess they can be somewhat happy with that. An 8-6 on Kafe that very much could have been theirs when it was looking super grim. That's pretty good. And then even the 7-4 on Consulate being one of TBD's better maps or best map, that's also not too shabby. So I guess overall it wasn't terrible from Kanga.
Yeah, and I mean, we discussed this briefly in the rehost, but of course Kanga do have Elevate up next, and the way that the seeding works in this tournament means that these first initial games for them will be quite challenging, and Elevate, despite drawing the series against LFO, still looked pretty strong, despite, of course, not being in the greatest form. They'll bounce back. Kanga are not going to have it easy at all in their next match. How can we sort of expect that one to play out? Because I'm expected to maybe be a little bit close, but if Elevate are in fine form, Kanga are probably going to be punished.
Yeah, I think it's just going to come down to what teams show up. If Elevate show up in their usual form, I think even if Kanga channels some of the more positive stuff they had tonight, they're going to struggle a lot. And if they show up like they did at the start of Kafe, then I think it's going to be not even a struggle. It's going to be probably pretty grim.
Well, TBD took full points tonight. We have Centus, their coach and manager, ready and waiting for an interview. So let's say hello.
Hi there, guys.
G'day,
How are you
mate.
doing?
How are you, mate? Congratulations on the 2 map wins tonight. Before we discuss the match, maybe talk a little bit about who you are, what your role is in the team, because I'm sure, myself included, didn't even know you were the coach or the manager heading into tonight. So maybe discuss how you got involved with TBD and sort of what your role is at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually working for an organization that was looking into picking up the team, and nothing came out of that. And I was pretty well communicating with the guys, helping them out. And since nothing went on with that deal, I told the guys that I wanted to help them find an actual org that was interested in picking them up. And started out working on contacting orgs, preparing everything so we can get one. And then we were talking a little bit, and they found out that I was already coaching for a few years in Tier 3 EU. And they just asked me, hey, you want to just do that a little bit, just see how it works. And then I started doing that, and it seems to be going pretty well at this point.
Nice. Yeah, it's good to see that you're here helping this team. I really wanted to ask you something about Kafe, because we saw two very different stories happening on Kafe. The first 3 rounds were insanely dominant by you guys, but then Kanga really clawed it back and ended up being overtime. Can you give us some insight into maybe some of the struggles that you guys started to face?
I mean, defense is just our strong suit. We can keep calm, we can keep steady and pull that through, as you saw in the first 3 rounds. That's just where we accelerate, where we can do our best. The attacks, on the other hand, seem to be a bit cluttered, not our strong suit, and we definitely have to work on those and have to keep them more consistent, have to keep them up, and I think next week is going to look a little bit different in terms of our attacks.
Awesome. Well, Sentis, we appreciate your time. It was a good chat. All the best in your next match, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Good to see some EU presence in ANZ, bring that knowledge across, because obviously EU, arguably one of, if not the best region for Siege, or, I mean, SSG won Invitational, but EU obviously with a rich history. So I think bringing some of that knowledge across will be quite beneficial for TBD, not only, as he mentioned, in terms of coaching the team strategically, but trying to get an org on board as well.
Yeah, and I guess it balances out a bit of the NA, because a lot of the top orgs in ANZ at the moment are NA orgs. So, having some EU representation is great. And good to, meet him and get to know him through these interviews and hear some insight about their struggles on Kafe. It's interesting because I feel like TBD were never really a team that felt like they struggled a massive amount with their attacks. But they did tonight with some of the stuff that Kanga was pulling out. And I really feel like Consulate could have been a lot closer. Now that I think about it, the fact that Thatcher just kept getting fragged out at the start of the round has a lot of factors at play, not being able to use the EMP grenades, but even like a bit of tilt. Surely Joker was getting a bit peeved about that whole situation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that even TBD are having issues on attack, and I feel like that's a little bit of a trend that's been present throughout Six Masters 2020 so far, is all of these teams seem to be having one or more issues on these attacks. No one's been coming out of the gates super strong, winning every single attack with ease. I mean, yes, TBD won their first 3 flawlessly, but it wasn't like they completely 7-0'd Kanga and just completely wiped the floor with them. So I think attacking is definitely going to be a point of difference for how these teams score points in this series.
Yeah, and I said it last night, and I say it again for tonight. I don't really think it's to do with the meta that people would label it as, the 20-second meta. It didn't feel like there was a stage where they were stalled out because they were struggling to clear utility, or they just had to be super thorough because of some of this utility. I think it just came down to more conflicting playstyles, or maybe struggling with communication and intel, because there was a lot of Mute and Mozzie play tonight. And without Thatcher, that's generally hard to deal with. And I think that's more of a carryover from what we were seeing in Season 11.
Which, I mean, is interesting because Thatcher was available in that second map tonight, the first map in this entire tournament so far where he has been available. Yet Kanga, to the best of my knowledge, didn't actually bring him, which was pretty interesting.
I'm still really surprised about that, and I'm probably going to ask something about that in the Kanga interview, because there were many rounds. I was talking about the impact of Mute. There were many rounds like when QD was playing in the public bathroom, where the Mute jammers just stopped them getting that intel, and a simple EMP could have fixed everything, and it could have accelerated the round. Maybe they would have had a more effective pinch onto QD in that position, and yeah, things could have been super different if they just picked Thatcher.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of maybe the reason why they didn't. Maybe it's because of, as we mentioned, maybe that mirror effect. Maybe in like the last 3 months or whatever, Kanga just haven't been screwing with Thatcher and don't feel comfortable with using that gadget or that ability fitting in with their playstyle. But on the flip side, it's not like Thatcher is the most complicated operator to use. It's pretty simple in being able to clear utility. So again, not sure if it's an oversight or a deliberate decision, but it did seem to cause some issues for them.
Yeah, and it's not like you're sacrificing good weapons or anything by picking Thatcher. He has a great loadout. Yeah, there's no real downside to bringing him. It could simply just come down to them autopiloting with the fact that he's usually banned. Maybe they just forgot to pick him or didn't even think about it because it's just usually not an available option.
Well, we do have Spruce from Kanga on the line. Let's see what he has to say about it.
How are we, boys?
G'day, James. How are you, mate?
I like how they got my full name in here. Shit. I mean, shit.
Hello, James Christian Spruce Fever. How you feeling after that matchup, bud? Unfortunately, no points tonight.
I'm all right, Michael Guzgari.
Okay, James Christian Spruce Fever.
I want to ask you about Consulate, and I want to ask, are you guys allergic to Thatcher, or is that like a conscious thing with what you were doing? Because you didn't pick it, and it seemed like there was some utility that was causing some struggles.
Oh, pardon me. I only think of the one time when it would have helped us would have been in the public bathroom mirror. Apart from that, I'm not. I don't think so. It was more our takes and our cohesion, which was probably more the problem. Really, I think we should have brought. I do agree though. We should have brought Thatcher into our lineup.
And also on Kafe, I asked the same thing to Sentis before with TBD. There was two different storylines that ended up happening on that map. Can you maybe give us some insight into some struggles? I mean, obviously you said with the attack cohesion, but first 3 rounds were flawless, not in your favor. Walk us through how that was going.
That was a bit rough, yeah. We're kind of trying to adapt to what they were bringing. I think also, we're not a very experienced team in terms of like comp experience in terms of all the players compared to them. So our adaptability probably was a little bit more poor. I think it was just more we were a little bit shook first game, 6 Masters, no experience. It was probably more to do with that those first couple of rounds than anything else. And
I guess you guys have Elevate next play day. How are you going to try and improve, or at least try and alleviate some of these issues heading into that match?
I'm just going to get inside the mind of Trent. I'm just going to really dig into him, tell him that I'm better than him, that he's going to lose. By Trent, I mean Worthy, by the way. I'm just going to really get into the mind of their fragger. That's all.
That sounds like a flawless tactic. We wish you all the best, Spruce, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. I hope you have a beautiful night, Gus. And you too, Brandon Raven Langiano.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Yep. That was a classic Spruce interview, wasn't it? Still a bit, providing a bit of banter, despite, of course, taking no points tonight.
Yep, he was. And I think he just reaffirmed some stuff that was obvious for us in terms of their cohesion and their attacker struggles. So, yeah, I mean, it's always great to be reaffirmed about some of the stuff that we speculate on the cast, and provided some insight in amongst his banter.
Well, that is the first series of tonight done and dusted. TBD will be your victors 2-0, but come back for the second series between Pittsburgh and the other team that I have forgotten, Ferox, coming up soon.
Maybe you're like Caden and Hank, who get a real thrill from the speed of their HDDs.